Extracting World of Warcraft skills in American comics. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Party. A week later. In the afternoon. In the Atlantic Ocean. A yacht was drifting in the sea. On the yacht, it was Tony and his friends. The yacht was already covered with beautiful decorations. Little Sissy and two other little ones were playing and frolicking on the yacht. Behind them, there was a little chicken like a nanny. Today was Tony's proposal day, so everyone who could come came to join in the fun, except for George who couldn't leave, and Kato and his 3 friends who opened the shop. Even Uncle Kyan postponed his appointment at the shop for one day, saying that he wanted to go fishing. He hadn't relaxed for a long time. As soon as he arrived in the sea, he took the fishing rod and pulled Mei Gan and Steve to sit on the deck to start fishing. In the aisle, Philan was running slowly with his limbs. Behind him, Danny was holding a whip in his hand, supervising Philan to lose weight. This was what Audrey asked Danny to do. Danny said he was happy to do it. Anyway, there was nothing else to do, and with Philan accompanying this guy, how could he not be happy? Potts hasn't come yet. She's too busy. A helicopter will bring Potts here at least until the evening. So Tony is still busy setting up the yacht. May, there have been frequent actions in S.H.I.E.L.D. recently. Did you talk to Nick about something last time? Natasha asked Mei Gan with a drink in her hand. She walked behind the group and asked Mei Gan. Recently, she saw Nick Fury go out with many people several times and come back alone the next day. She always felt the sense of urgency emanating from him. She also asked Hill and Carlson, but even Hill and Carlson were confused. This is a bit unusual. You know, Nick used to ask Hill or Carlson to do something. Who knew that he would go to the front line himself this time? Could it be that Nick's suspicion has become serious again, and he even suspects them? He is so suspicious. Who knows if you have done something to make him suspect you? Why does everything involve me? Mei Gan said half jokingly with a fishing rod in his hand. Mei, I think it must have something to do with you. Natasha rolled her eyes and said. Mei Gan shrugged and didn't answer. Seeing that Mei Gan refused to say anything, Natasha glared at him speechlessly, then twisted her waist and turned away. I say, you little bastard. I, a blind man, can see clearly what the girl means. Why are you indifferent? Are you afraid that Audrey will be angry? Do you want your uncle to teach you a few tricks? Uncle Kyan said in a low voice when he saw Natasha had left. Uncle Kyan, do you think everyone is like you? I'm very loyal. Mei Gan sneered at Uncle Kyan's tricks. Isn't it just relying on your skin? Do you think I don't know it now? Loyal, don't make me laugh to death. There is no loyal man in the world. There is no loyal woman. There is only men who can resist temptation. Even if the body does not act, the spirit must act. Uncle Kyan said disdainfully, as if he knew a lot. Kyan, you are wrong. I'm very loyal. Steve on the side disagreed. Don't give me that. You must still be thinking about your Agent Carter in your heart, and now you are with Linda, and you still dare to say that you are very loyal? Uncle Kyan looked like he saw through all of you guys. Steve was a little doubtful about himself. Could it be that he was really not loyal? Although he felt that something was wrong, but what Uncle Kyan said was correct to Banner. Just like him, although he was with Betty, he still missed his first love in his heart. Okay, you are right, Kyan. Steve suddenly felt that he didn't know where to refute Uncle Kyan, so he had to agree with this statement. Damn it, Marvel's moral model felt that he was tainted. Mei Gan was stunned on the side. You were brainwashed by Uncle Kyan's words. This is too much. Even I don't believe it, but you actually believed it. Alas, something is wrong with this sentence. Mei, I think you can really learn a few tricks from Kyan. Take Natasha, and don't let others get her. Johnny, the fool, said from the side. You want to learn a few tricks from Uncle Kyan, so that you can go back to your journalist ex-girlfriend. Mei Gan rolled his eyes helplessly. How can you slander someone's innocence out of thin air? Johnny shouted in annoyance, as if his thoughts were seen through. Okay, you guys should stop pretending. You have such a good partner like Nadia, but you are still thinking about your ex-girlfriend. Banner patted Johnny on the shoulder and said with a look of knowing you very well. Guys, what are you talking about? Let me hear it too at this time. Tony walked to the side of the few people with a plate of fruit, put the plate on the table next to him and interrupted. Wow, there is a fish biting the hook. Mei Gan exerted force with his hand and pulled out a big fish weighing more than 2 kilograms from the sea. Then, he said to Tony, Tony, it seems that you are not nervous now. Nervous? What is that? How can I, Tony, be nervous? The women I have had can form a reinforced company. How can I be nervous? Tony responded disdainfully. Come on, I don't know who was shaking his legs when he went out to sea this morning. Steve on the side directly revealed Tony's scars in the morning. Tony was speechless. Several people played here for a while. Time passed like this. In the evening, the sky had dimmed and a crescent moon hung in the sky, casting its white moonlight on the sea, making the calm sea surface wear a layer of white gauze. The yacht was dark and no lights were on. At this moment, a helicopter flew from the direction of the Big Apple and approached the yacht. On the helicopter, Potts looked at the dark yacht with some confusion. Tony clearly asked me to come here. Why didn't I see them? Potts was about to contact Tony, but at this moment, Tony flew out of the yacht in his Mark armor and approached the helicopter directly. Tony opened the visor on his face and said to Potts with a smile, "Beautiful Miss Potts, let me, the knight, take you down." After saying that, without waiting for Potts to reply, he stretched out his hand to pull Potts out of the backseat of the helicopter and held her in his arms. Nodding to the pilot on the helicopter, Tony landed directly on the yacht. Tony, where are they? Didn't they say they would have a party here tonight? Why aren't they here? Standing on the deck of the yacht, Potts asked with some confusion. On the side, everyone was standing there, staring at Tony and the others. The people who were waiting inside appeared on the deck, and it was obvious that neither Potts nor Tony could see them. This must be Mei Gan's masterpiece. When he proposed to Audrey, didn't Tony also install a camera on the top of the mountain? Let everyone watch him propose like a monkey. Now the retribution has come. This is tit for tat. Tony walked out of the armor and said to Potts nervously, "Potts, I, cough cough." Tony coughed twice nervously, forgetting his prepared words. On the side, everyone covered their mouths and tried to hold back their laughter. Mei Gan was even more outrageous, holding a video recorder in his hand and recording. When it was over, Mei Gan would definitely laugh at Tony. Chapter 177. Tony proposes. In the sea. On the yacht. Tony finally finished his previous words stutteringly. This proposal was really a test for him. After all, he used to ask women out directly. Others followed him directly because of the US dollars he had. But this time was different. So, Tony knelt on one knee on the deck, holding the protection ring he bought from Mei Gan, and said to Potts. As soon as Tony finished speaking, not far from the yacht, countless colorful fireworks shot up. Bang bang. The fireworks rose into the sky and illuminated the sea. The bright fireworks spread in all directions and fell into the sea. When the fireworks fell, bing, a loud voice came from a distance. Potts covered his mouth and turned his head to look. He saw that the little chicken turned back into a phoenix and flew from not far away. From time to time, red flames fell behind it. The colorful red light on the little chicken was waving in the air like a ribbon. This scene made all the girls present brighten their eyes, full of envy. Audrey turned to Mei Gan with a resentful look and said, "Little chicken has this ability. Why didn't you use it when you proposed to me last time?" Mei Gan was also a little dumbfounded. Why didn't he think of little chicken when he proposed to her? But this time Tony actually thought of it. No wonder Tony is so good to little chicken and sends food whenever he has nothing to do. It turns out that this is his idea. Banner and others beside Mei Gan have already started to think about little chicken. After all, they also have a day to propose, and it's not far away. At this time, Tony, who was kneeling on one knee, was sweating on his forehead. Why didn't this cheating Mei use his magic? Didn't we agree to use magic 30 seconds after the fireworks fell? I haven't said the most important thing yet. Fortunately, Steve next to him is reliable and still remembers this matter, otherwise Tony will inevitably complain afterwards. Steve patted Mei Gan's arm and pointed at Tony, who was looking anxious. Mei Gan then remembered that he still had a mission. Thinking of the mission, Mei Gan immediately used his skills. Tranquility. Mei Gan's voice fell, and a little green light suddenly appeared in the sky, within a 10-mile radius of the yacht. Tranquility, which Mei Gan didn't use when he proposed marriage, finally came in handy. Fortunately, Mei Gan didn't use the wrong skill this time, although the last meteor shower was also very beautiful. Green light slowly fell from the sky. It was like a bunch of green ribbons. It covered the sky within 10 miles. It made this world look like a fairyland in a dream. The green light fell on everyone, making everyone tremble all over, and suddenly they felt refreshed and in much better spirits. And on the sea, the moment the green light fell, sea fish jumped out of the sea and went to meet the green light. Countless sea fish jumped out of the sea, big and small, vying for the first place, endless. Looking at this beautiful picture, the eyes of the women were about to turn into hearts. They wondered if this fairyland-like scene would appear when their men proposed to them. Looking at Banner and the others who were being bombarded with eyes from their women, Mei Gan thought that they would have to pay him next time they proposed, otherwise he would become a tool. So, Miss Potts, will you marry me? Not far away, Tony saw that Mei Gan had already made a move and hurriedly said to Potts, "Tony." Potts' eyes were red with excitement, and then he sniffed and said, "I do." Potts stretched out a hand and put it on Tony's hand, and Tony hurriedly put the guardian ring on Potts' finger. Then, Tony excitedly hugged Potts and gave him a French kiss. Seeing this, Mei Gan and Uncle Long hurriedly covered the eyes of the two little guys. As Chinese people, they all have the same idea. While the two were kissing wetly, the colored lights hanging on the yacht also lit up at the right time, and gentle music came from the yacht. Looking at the green light falling on Tony's head, Mei Gan felt that the implication was a bit bad, but they foreigners all like green, so it should be okay. Pa 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 wow. Well done, man. At this time, the people who had been standing by showed up and said in a booing manner, You have been here all the time, and you are still so close." Tony stared at everyone and said in disbelief, "Yes, this is all Men's idea." Tony Banner faced his boss and sold Mei Gan out directly. "Banner, you traitor, you were the one who watched the most seriously just now, and you actually betrayed me." Mei Gan's face froze when he heard this, and he put away his skill of tranquility, and then he said angrily, "Isn't it your idea, Mei? You even recorded it with a video recorder." Johnny stabbed Mei Gan in the chest again. "You two traitors." Mei Gan covered his chest and pointed at the two idiots. "Mei, let's talk about it. You should take out the video. I'll buy it with money." Tony's face changed when he heard that. He quickly came over and put his arm around Mei Gan's shoulders and said in a low voice, "Don't even think about it, Tony. You haven't even given me the video of the day I proposed to you." Mei Gan knocked Tony's hand away and said, "I've already told you that I've deleted it. Why don't you believe me? I'm afraid you'll hit me to death with a hammer." Tony patted his forehead. Okay, I'll give it back to you." Mei Gan couldn't stand Tony anymore and put a video recorder in Tony's hand. "Thanks, man. This is a very precious thing. I'm going to keep it well." Tony shook the video recorder in his hand with a bright smile on his face. "The color of this ring is really beautiful, Tony." Holding Tony's arm, Potts looked at the ring in his hand and said with a smile. Then he asked with some doubt, "Why do I feel that it is similar to the ring on Audrey's neck? I bought this from Mei. Mei said that this is a magic ring. It can at least defend against rocket bombardment. You must always wear it." Tony explained to Potts. "Thank you, Tony." Potts' smile became even brighter. This was bought by Mei because Tony was worried about his safety. Sometimes women are easy to satisfy, but sometimes they are greedy. In fact, it is not just women, but men are almost the same. Then everyone walked to the restaurant together to prepare for dinner. For Tony's business, everyone has not eaten dinner yet, and everyone is a little hungry. Soon after, the lights on the yacht were bright, and bursts of laughter came out, breaking the calm sea. After a long time, the yacht began to move and headed towards the Big Apple. And just as the yacht began to drive back to the Big Apple, next to a pier, a rocket was standing next to it. The lights in the control room next to the dock were on. A dozen researchers in white coats were busy working in front of computers. In the middle, a short-haired man in a dark coat was talking to a few of the researchers. 4 minutes and 50 seconds until launch, a voice came. A grey light flashed in the eyes of the man in the dark coat. He turned and looked at a researcher sitting in front of the computer. Chapter 178 We Are Kind. Night. Big Apple City Seaside Rocket Launch Base. In the control room, a massacre is going on. A tall black monster turned his hand into a spike and stabbed it into the chest of a researcher in a white coat. The researcher was nailed to the wall. Our screams rang out. All the researchers fled in fear. The black monster stretched out his hands. The black rubber-like substance on his arms was wriggling rapidly, and soon, it turned into two sharp long knives. The monster crossed his hands, and the long knife flashing with cold light swept across the desk in front of him, and the computer on the desk was broken into two pieces like tofu. The monster ignored the staff who had escaped, and turned to look at the rocket outside the window. Hooala! The black riot jumped out of the glass window, and ran towards the rocket. On the roof not far away stood a monster of similar appearance, and above the monster's head, Carrie, the daughter of the star-eating, was floating there. This alien monster was moved by this guy, and stopped invading the earth. Should I swallow him? Carrie put one hand in her mouth, and swallowed her saliva and whispered. However, when she saw the alien monster, that looked similar not far away, she forgot about Venom. Ah. This guy is so powerful, you can beat him, right? If not, we will take him to Superman Street. Eddie persuaded Venom. His ability is beyond your imagination. What is Superman Street? Although Venom could search Eddie's thoughts, he did not read all of his memories. There lives a group of powerful superheroes there. So, what are our chances of winning? Rounding off, it should be equal to 0. Besides, it's too late. Go first. Okay, let's go. Go save the Earth. Maybe I can become a superhero too. In the corridor leading to the rocket, Riot was approaching quickly with his hands and feet. At this moment, Venom broke through the bridge from below and rushed out. Riot immediately stopped and pointed at Venom and said angrily, "Venom, get out of here and go to the rocket." "No, I won't let you destroy this planet," Venom said in a muffled voice. "Then go to hell." Riot finished speaking, and the two alien monsters manipulated the rubber-like substance on their bodies to turn into weapons, and then wrestled together. A moment later, Venom was suppressed by Riot and beat up. Just as the two monsters were fighting in a group, a yacht was approaching quickly on the sea not far from the rocket. On the yacht, everyone was happily drinking wine and chatting, and they didn't notice the battle on the rocket at all. Even Mei Gan was the same. He was concentrating on touching the cards. That's right, Mei Gan was playing Mahjong with Steve, Banner and Johnny. There were already some beads of sweat on Mei Gan's forehead. He lost badly tonight. He didn't win many cards in the whole night, but he did fire a lot of cannons, and he couldn't use his mental power to peek. If you have to cheat in playing Mahjong, what's the point? Hurry up and play your cards. Mei, why are you taking so long? I've waited until the flowers have withered. Banner urged. That's right, Mei, it's useless for you to play anything. You can't win anyway. At most, you can just be prepared for a bomb. Johnny was affecting Mei Gan's thinking. Shut up, don't disturb my thinking. I must win this time. 70,000. Mei Gan touched the sweat on his forehead and shouted excitedly in his heart, it's not easy. Finally, I'm listening to the cards for a while. There's no way, my luck tonight is really bad. The cards I got are all unwanted, and I finally got a good deck of cards. I have to look carefully, otherwise what should I do if I play the wrong cards? It seems that Mei has already listened to the cards. Guys, you can win if you have them. You won't have a share later. It's not easy to beat Mei a few times tonight, little chicken. Steve threw down imagining and said to Banner and the others with a smile. Why are you calling me? Steve hearing Steve's voice, the little chicken flew over from the dining table not far away and asked with some confusion. I didn't ask you to play the game, Steve. Go eat your food. Mei Gan knocked the little chicken on the head and said, oh. After being knocked by his boss, the little chicken had to lower his head and fly away. Bang, thank you, Steve. I finally got the card. Haha Mei, if you don't win again, you won't have a chance. Johnny laughed a little arrogantly. Mei Gan didn't say anything and reached out to touch his own cards. Hey, guys, give me money, it's finally my turn to win. Mei Gan put the Majin in his hand on the Majin table, holding the tube in his hand, and said excitedly, after a night, it's finally my turn to win. However, at this moment, boom. A huge noise came, followed by the violent shaking of the entire yacht. As the yacht shook, the tables and drunkards placed on it all tilted and fell. Mei Gan held the tube in his hand. He stared blankly at the scattered Majin, and his first win in the night was gone. Who the hell is that? Mei Gan shouted angrily, after he came to his senses. He walked outside angrily, followed by Steve and others. When they came outside, they saw a hole more than 1 meter long on the deck of the yacht. Seawater was pouring into the yacht from the hole. In a short while, the yacht would sink to the bottom of the sea. At this moment, bang, a black monster rushed out of the hole and stood directly outside the hole. It was Venom. Venom rushed out from the bottom of the sea and stood on the deck. A pair of huge white eyes looked around. Venom ignored Mei Gan and others who were furious. He turned around and was about to go to the rocket. However, Eddie in Venom's body could not remain calm. As a reporter, he must know Mei Gan and others. Those superheroes were all here. On the day of the Battle of the Big Apple, he saw with his own eyes how the Ash Wizard killed those alien invaders. Now he was staring at himself and Venom angrily. And he had heard some rumors. He heard that the house of the Ash Mage had been destroyed several times before, and each time those guys were turned into dust by the Ash Mage. Looking at his angry look, this yacht would not be his. Then he and Venom would be miserable. He didn't think that Venom could beat the magician. When Eddie thought of this, he immediately said, Venom, stop, quickly, right now. What's the matter, Eddie? We still have to stop the riot, there is no time. Venom said anxiously. If you don't stop now, we may turn into ashes later, Venom. Eddie wanted to turn around and kneel down now. He seemed to feel the cold eyes behind him. Okay, listening to Eddie's anxious words, Venom turned around and said in confusion, what should we do now? What do you want to do? Do you know that the riot is about to start? Don't talk, don't say a word. Eddie didn't have time to explain for Venom and told him to shut up. Then, Eddie's voice came out from Venom's body that, Mr. Magician, we didn't mean it, really, it was that monster over there who threw us here. If you want to vent, go find that monster. We are kind. Chapter 179. I don't know why he is so weak. Night. The yacht on the sea has descended a little. Listening to Eddie's apology, Mei Gan did not speak, but the coldness in his eyes dissipated a little. Turning to Audrey and Uncle Kyan and others, he said, Audrey, Uncle Kyan, I will take you back first. We will go back after we have settled the matter here. Be careful. Uncle Kyan and others nodded, but Audrey said a word. Mei Gan did not respond, but nodded. Then light flashed in his right hand, and a blue staff appeared in his hand. Mei Gan held the staff in his right hand and gently waved it at Uncle Kyan and others. A blue magic circle appeared under their feet. A white light flashed, and Uncle Kyan and others disappeared on the yacht in the blink of an eye. Only Mei Gan, Tony, Steve, Johnny and Banner were left. Mei, why did you leave us here? You can handle this by yourself, Banner asked puzzledly. Banner, transform. I won't do anything. From now on, I will be a nanny and a support. If you want to add status, please call me daddy. Mei Gan raised his eyebrows and said, wait. Several people glanced at Mei Gan with disdain. Go. Guys, this Venom's fellow tribesmen want to go back to find his tribesmen to invade the earth. Mei Gan pointed the staff in his hand at the yacht. A layer of white light quickly spread out with Mei Gan as the center. Wherever the white light passed, the calm sea surface suddenly turned into ice. Venom, who was standing aside and was anxious, had gray-white eyes that shrank to the size of strawberries since Mei Gan took out the staff. He looked at Mei Gan in panic. He had never thought that there was such a strong man on Earth. If he had known earlier, he would not come to Earth, even if he was beaten to death. What should we do with this guy, Mei? Steve pointed at Venom and said. Don't worry, the host inside him is kind. Mei Gan replied. Then go. Steve said, taking off his coat. He picked up an iron rod from the side and weighed it in his hand. Next, Steve, how do you fight with that guy? Mei Gan took out a big knife from the space that was the same as the one he sold to him, threw it to Steve and said. Steve took the big knife and nodded with satisfaction. Tony had already put on his Mark armor, and Johnny had also turned into the Ghost Rider, but without his cool motorcycle beside him. Only Banner hadn't summoned the Hulk yet. Banner, what are you waiting for? If you wait any longer, that guy will take a rocket away. Tony patted Banner on the shoulder and said. Banner shrugged, and it was another night of feeling sorry for his clothes. He walked forward a few steps, clenched his fists, and his skin was slowly turning green. Soon, Banner had turned into the Hulk. Mei Gan saw that everyone was ready. The staff in his hand waved towards several people, including Venom, and a layer of blue armor exuding a chill wrapped them inside. After releasing the frost armor, Mei Gan did not stop and waved the staff in his hand towards the few people again. A layer of cyan shield appeared on the bodies of the few people and wrapped them together with the blue frost armor. Then, Mei Gan waved the staff in his hand again, and red light appeared. On the two arms of the few people, red runes flashed, and red light lit up on their hands. Bloodthirstiness, increase the attack speed and movement speed of yourself or your allies. Mei Gan lightly tapped the ground with the staff in his hand, and 5 halos with flashing runes appeared under his feet. After the halos appeared, they extended to the feet of Tony and the others. Thorn Halo, let our allies be surrounded by a layer of magic shield full of thorns, causing damage to the melee units that attack them. Concentration Aura, increase the defensive armor of the allies. Evil Aura, make the nearby allies get faster life recovery speed. Command Aura, increase the attack power of the allies. Brilliant Aura, increase the magic recovery speed and physical recovery speed of the allies. The 5 auras maximumed out Steve and the others' status, plus their frost armor and the neutral hero's skill magic shield. Their defense is probably so strong that even a nuclear bomb can't kill them. Mei, I feel like I can rush into hell and beat Mephisto to death now. Johnny clenched his fist, which was already a skull. Are you satisfied with the status I gave you? Go ahead. Guys, Mei Gan smiled, then pointed his staff at Riot, who was climbing up the rocket, and said to everyone. Venom clenched his fist and felt the sudden increase in strength in his body, and his heart was full of shock. It can actually enhance the strength of others and strengthen their defense. This is really a magical power. Looking at the few people running on the sea like a gust of wind, Tony flying in the sky, and then looking at Mei Gan, who looked a little strange, Venom hurriedly ran towards the rocket. The rocket on the launch pad had begun to vibrate. Riot was running quickly towards an entrance of the rocket using all 4 limbs. At this moment, Tony, who was near the road, pointed his palm at Riot and shot a laser at Riot. Bang! Next to Riot, the outer shell of the rocket suddenly exploded, and Tony blew a hole directly. Looking at the already damaged rocket, Riot's anger rose in his heart. This was the means of transportation he would use to go back and call people over, and it was destroyed by you, the Tin Man. A pair of sturdy thighs kicked the outer shell of the rocket fiercely, and Riot shot at Tony like a bullet. The black substance on his right hand squirmed and turned into a battle axe. He chopped down at Tony fiercely. Bang! Looking at Riot ricocheting towards him, Tony punched out reflexively and hit Riot's chest directly. The powerful force directly blasted Riot into the inside of the rocket. Now, let alone going home, it is already an unknown whether he can leave here. When Riot was bombarded and embedded in the rocket, a green figure jumped up from the sea. Bang! Hulk rushed into the rocket, grabbed Riot's neck, and threw him directly to Steve, Johnny and Venom. Bang! Venom made the first move, clenched his fist, and punched Riot, who was falling towards this side, into the sky again. Beside him, the Ghost Rider, who was burning with light blue flames, took off the iron chain wrapped around his body and wrapped around Riot in the sky. Hoola la! The sound of the iron chain hitting resounded throughout the sea. Then, the iron chain burning with blue flames directly wrapped around Riot. Ghost Rider was about to pull Riot back here, but he found that the black substance on Riot's body in the sky was rapidly decreasing, and the light blue flame was like encountering ignitable kerosene, and it spread directly towards the black substance. Roar! A shrill roar came from the sky, and in the blink of an eye, the black substance disappeared, revealing only the short-haired man entangled in the iron chain. Steve was dumbfounded. Did he rush over here just to be a bystander? Before he could even make a move, the alien monster was destroyed. Steve, I don't know why he is so weak. The light blue flame in John's skull flickered, and he was speechless. Chapter 180. I'm pregnant. At the seaside of the Big Apple City. In the sky. Carrie, the daughter of the Star Eater, was watching Riot being killed by Johnny. The food was gone. Carrie wanted to cry. She finally found a food that could be eaten, but it was destroyed. It was not that she did not want to grab it, but that powerful magician was looking at her. At this time, Carrie saw that the magician was about to wave his hand, so Carrie had to float towards Mei Gan. This is the food you found. Mei Gan pointed to the short-haired man lying on the ground and said. Carrie nodded timidly. I'm really sorry. Wait a minute. I'll find you some food. Mei Gan touched his head embarrassedly. He had chopped off someone's father, and now he robbed his food. He really looked like a group of robbers. After that, Mei Gan began to look for something in his space to see if there was anything that could provide Carrie with energy. Mr. Magician, can you help me solve my hunger problem? I really don't want to endure this hunger anymore, Carrie said a little embarrassedly. She was thinking that she was going to find a spaceship for Mei Gan, but now that the spaceship hadn't arrived, she felt a little embarrassed to ask someone to help her solve her hunger problem. Mei Gan thought about it and said that she had told Carrie because she had killed Star Devourer, and now no one could tell her about the problem in her body. Your hunger problem is because you have a cosmic tapeworm in your body. You should know that. Yes, I know, Carrie nodded. Then you don't know it yet. In fact, you are the cosmic tapeworm in your father's stomach. Mei Gan pointed to Carrie's stomach and said. What? Carrie shouted in some surprise. You didn't hear it wrong. You were originally the cosmic tapeworm in your father's body. You mean, I'm pregnant, Carrie said with sweat all over her forehead. Mei Gan was stunned when he heard this. This is true, but why did you focus on something else? Isn't the key point we are talking about the fact that you are a cosmic tapeworm? I haven't been in love. I haven't had a boyfriend. How can I get pregnant? Mr. Magician, can you take that cosmic tapeworm out of my body? Carrie poked her belly with her finger and looked at Mei Gan expectantly. I can take him out of your body, but I have a better way. I can seal him in your body with magic. If you suddenly want to have a child, you can come to me, and I will remove the seal. At that time, I can also give you a magic prop that can help you give birth to him quickly. Mei Gan thought about it and suggested. Just think of this as an apology for killing his father. Is this really okay? Will it be too much trouble for you? Kara's eyes lit up when she heard it, and a look of surprise appeared on her face, and then she said a little embarrassedly. Of course not, it's just a little help. Mei Gan spread his hands. Then I'll trouble you, Mr. Magician, Carrie said, after bowing to Mei Gan. Why does it feel that this star-eating girl wants to live a good life so much? Mei Gan waved his hand indifferently. Then please, Mr. Magician, do it. Carrie gritted her teeth and closed her eyes and said. Mei Gan looked at Carrie in front of him with a confused face. This was the nth time that he was shocked by this girl. You gritted your teeth and closed your eyes. If you didn't know, you would think I was going to do something to you. Aren't you sullying my innocence? Mei Gan's forehead was full of black lines. He stretched out his sinful hand to Carrie in silence. Oh no, he stretched out his right hand, and invisible magic power penetrated into Carrie. After a while, runes sealed the cosmic tapeworm in Carrie's body. Carrie still closed her eyes and gritted her teeth. Mr. Magician, why don't you do it? I'm ready, Carrie asked in confusion. It's ready. Mei Gan was too tired to complain. Ah, is it ready? Why don't you feel it? Carrie opened her eyes and blinked in confusion. She patted her stomach and tilted her head to feel her body. I don't think I'm hungry anymore. Oh my god. I'm really not hungry anymore. Carrie suddenly jumped up, hugged Mei Gan excitedly, and shouted. Stop, stop, stop. Mei Gan quickly pushed Carrie away and then stepped back half a step. Carrie was pushed away and then her face turned red, feeling ashamed of what she had just done. This scene was seen by Tony, who was landing from the air. Mei actually has a lover hidden. He is really good at hiding. And it's such a young and beautiful girl. Tony looked at Carrie, who was hugging Mei Gan, and muttered to himself in surprise. On the other side, Steve and others stood on a large block of ice. Looking at the short-haired man lying dead on the ice in a daze, Johnny returned to his human form, squatted in front of the short-haired man, and scratched his hair helplessly. Beside him, Steve and Venom looked at Johnny with some resentment in their eyes. After all the effort, to have a good fight, who knew that it would be ruined by Johnny's chain? And the most important thing was that Steve hadn't made a move yet. Hulk jumped off the rocket, scratched his green head, then glared at Johnny in dissatisfaction, and his body shrank for a while. After a moment, he turned back into Banner. Next to him, the substances on Venom's body quickly retreated, revealing Eddie's figure, and in the blink of an eye, those substances retreated into Eddie's body. Okay, now tell us what's going on with this guy. Steve took a few steps forward and asked Eddie. Ahem. This is what happened. Eddie cleared his throat with 2 dry coughs, and explained to everyone. After a moment. So, this is what happened. Eddie narrated the whole story from beginning to end, and explained to several people. This guy is a lunatic, and he actually wants to lure alien monsters to the earth. Leave him to Nick. I don't want to dirty my hands by killing him. Tony walked out of the armor, and said to Steve and others. Okay, you contact him, Tony. Steve nodded in agreement. Okay, this guy's problem has been solved, so now it's your turn. By the way, what's your name? Eddie. Eddie Brooke, Captain. Eddie introduced to Steve a little stiffly. So, the monster on you? Steve approached Eddie a little, and looked directly into Eddie's eyes and said. Captain, don't worry, Venom will abide by the rules of our Earth, and with you here, he dare not mess around, especially with that wizard. Eddie glanced at Mei Gan, who was approaching this side with Carrie. I hope so, Eddie. I think you will restrain him well. Tony, who had already read Eddie's file, looked at Eddie and said. This is what I should do, Mr. Stark. I hope so. Banner said after finding a code from somewhere and putting it on. Guys, how do you feel? Is the buff I gave you very powerful? Mei Gan walked closer and said to everyone. Hearing Mei Gan's voice, several people turned around quickly. Looking at the beautiful figure next to Mei Gan, Tony's eyes widened. He couldn't believe that Mei Gan had brought his lover here so blatantly. Thinking of this, Tony blurted out, Mei, won't you introduce your lover to us? Chapter 181 Not on the sea. After listening to Tony's words, there was a cold field. It is estimated that she had already shot Tony for a long time. Yes, but the Venom cannot see her. What do we follow us? Eddie pointed at herself in doubt. Because she regarded the Venom as a food, she's specifically looking for the invaders on the Earth as food. Eddie's forehead was already covered with sweat after hearing this, and the Venom in his body was hiding inside him and trembling. He didn't dare to make a sound, for fear that this pretty woman would suddenly swallow him. Everyone looked at Carrie with some surprise. The looks of several people made Carrie blush, and she stepped back a few steps. Okay, if everything is fine, let's go back first. We'll talk about Carrie's matter later. If you keep looking at us like this, people will think you are LSPs from somewhere. You should go back with us first. Mei Gan clapped his hands and said to everyone, then said to Eddie. Okay, several people responded. Steve returned the long knife in his hand to Mei Gan and shook his head with some regret. He had the weapons, but he just didn't use them. What about you? Do you want to go back with us, or? Mei Gan turned his head and looked at Carrie and asked. No, I can go home by myself. Mr. Magician, thank you. I will come to see you again when I find the spaceship. Carrie bowed to Mei Gan and thanked him. Okay. Mei Gan waved his staff, and a ray of light shot out from the staff and penetrated into the body of the short-haired man on the ice. Then, Mei Gan waved the staff again, and the white light flashed. In the blink of an eye, Mei Gan and his men disappeared in front of Carrie. After everyone disappeared, Carrie flew into the air with a relaxed look. She finally solved her hunger problem. It was great. After everyone left, a Quinjet landed here. Several agents wearing S.H.I.E.L.D. uniforms got off the Quinjet. They picked up the short-haired man who was still unconscious on the ice and left directly. Block. Next to the turret, a white light flashed, and Mei Gan and his men appeared there. Uncle Kine and his men had already gone home. After all, Mei Gan was there, so they didn't worry about their safety. Now Mei Gan is the one that everyone believes in the most. After all, every time there is a crisis, as long as Mei Gan arrives, it will be solved. Who doesn't believe it? After several people appeared, Tony walked towards his home. He didn't even ask about the relationship between Mei Gan and Carrie. After all, he just proposed to Potts tonight, and it wouldn't be good to leave Potts at home like this. So he hurried back to accompany Potts. Mei Gan and the others didn't mind. After saying hello, several people went back to their homes. Inside the flower shop, Audrey was sitting on the sofa, crossing her legs, staring at the little chicken with her head down on the ground with a bad look, and next to her, little S.H.I.E.L.D was holding an ancient battle axe in her hand, and staring at it. The little chicken had a great time tonight, but as soon as he came back, he was tortured by Audrey. Although Mei Gan didn't expect the little chicken to appear, when Mei Gan proposed to him, women know what they know. The little chicken felt that he was wronged. It was obviously his boss's fault. Why did he have to suffer in the end? This was unfair. Why didn't the boss come back? You see, the little chicken obviously didn't understand female creatures. If Mei Gan saw him, he would definitely make a few mockery. Just then, Mei Gan walked back from outside. The little chicken heard the footsteps and immediately looked up at Mei Gan in surprise. Wow. Baby, what are you doing with that axe? It's very sharp. Don't hurt your hand. Mei Gan saw the figure of little S.H.I.E.L.D holding the ancient battle axe as soon as he entered the door. After all, a little guy holding an axe is very conspicuous. Dad, Mommy asked me to take it out. Mommy said to watch the little chicken. It made a mistake. Little S.H.I.E.L.D pointed at the little chicken on the ground and said, not that bad, not that bad. What did the little chicken do wrong to use the artifact? Take it back quickly. Mei Gan quickly took the ancient battle axe from little S.H.I.E.L.D's hand and put it back into her small backpack. Little chicken, what did you do wrong? You made your sister-in-law so angry. You should know that your sister-in-law usually has a very good temper. Mei Gan walked to the side of little chicken and asked in confusion. Little chicken did not answer. He looked at Mei Gan aggrievedly and almost shed a few tears. My boss is still the best. He thought about rescuing me as soon as he came back. When Mei Gan saw that little chicken did not respond, he hurriedly looked at Audrey on the sofa, but who wanted to see was a pair of resentful eyes. Xiao is in the limelight tonight, Audrey said sourly. Mei Gan immediately thought of the scene when Tony proposed to him in the evening. His body shuddered suddenly, and he looked at little chicken with a headache. What are you doing? Now it's difficult for me, your boss, tonight. If I don't coax this woman well, I will have to sleep in the guest room tonight. Headache. Ahem. This matter tonight, yes, is the fault of the little chicken. Why didn't you show off when your boss wanted to propose to your sister-in-law last time, but you show off tonight when Tony proposed to you? Tell me, what benefits did Tony give you? If you don't tell me clearly, I will pluck your chicken feathers tonight. Mei Gan pretended to be very angry and questioned the little chicken. The little chicken felt that his head was bombarded by thunder when he heard it, and he stayed where he was. He looked at the boss in front of him with lifeless eyes. Woo woo, it turns out that everything is fake. I want to run away from home. The little chicken hugged his head with his wings and thought sadly. Why are you so fierce to Xiao? It's obviously your fault. Why do you scold Xiao? Audrey on the sofa was unhappy. She quickly got up and picked up the little chicken, glared at Mei Gan, and then comforted the little chicken in a low voice and ignored Mei Gan who was standing there. It turned out that the person who didn't understand female creatures was himself. I was the one who was interrogating the little chicken just now, so why was it my fault for helping him? It was so unreasonable. Mei Gan looked at Audrey's back in a daze, scratched his head, and was full of doubts. At this time, little S.H.I.E.L.D walked to her father, sighed, and patted Mei Gan's thigh. Then she jumped and ran towards Audrey. Mei Gan touched his forehead, a little confused. Chapter 182, Fighting and Unable. The next morning, in front of the turret on the block, Steve and Tony were staring at Eddie in front of them, while Mei Gan was sitting listlessly on the steps beside him. Mei Gan tried his best to compensate Audrey last night, but it was too strenuous. He didn't sleep last night, so he didn't have much energy today. It was already night when he came back last night, so Steve just threw Eddie into an uninhabited house. In the morning, he had time to think about how to settle this guy in the future. After all, there is an alien life in his body, and they have to be settled. Or, throw this guy to Nick. Natasha suggested. No one at S.H.I.E.L.D. can deal with this guy. I think it's better to settle him on our street. The most important thing now is that he has no money to buy a house. If he doesn't have money, Tony suggested. He wanted to see the structure of this alien life. Maybe it would be very helpful for his research. As long as he lives in this street, it is equivalent to being caught by him. After all, these guys are a bunch of poor ghosts. That's a good suggestion. Steve didn't have so many twists and turns. As long as Mei is here, this guy can't make a big move. Eddie and the venom in his body are trembling. Seeing Tony's aggressive eyes, Eddie swallowed nervously. Would this playboy lift him onto the research table? That would be terrible. With Mei Gan here, he can neither beat him nor escape. Even if Mei Gan wasn't here, he couldn't beat him. Didn't you see Banner stroking his glasses with some boredom? Not to mention Johnny, who was acting cool on the motorcycle over there. Mei, what do you think? Steve asked Mei Gan, who was in a daze. Just make your own decisions. I'm fine with anything. Mei Gan waved his hand indifferently. Okay. So, Eddie, right? Now you are going to move in with us. Don't think about running away. No matter where you go, Mei can find you. So, go back and pack your things today. Don't think we are imprisoning you. You can still do what you want to do, and it is safer here than anywhere else. So, what do you think? Steve patted Eddie on the shoulder and said, of course, it's Milner. Eddie looked bitter. What can he do? He can't beat him. Then it's decided, Steve said with a big wave of his hand. Tony walked towards Eddie with a warm smile after hearing this. So, Mr. Reporter, do you have any savings? Can you buy a house here? Then, Tony and Banner and others fooled Eddie for a while. Eddie was fooled so much that he couldn't find his way. A few days later, at noon, at the gate of the block, Tony, Banner, and Johnny hurriedly got out of the car next to the turret. The three of them were excited. You three are so excited because you picked up money? Mei Gan was walking out of Uncle Khan's house with a bowl of chicken soup in his hand. He looked at Tony and the other two with some doubts and asked. The chicken soup was cooked by Aunt Mei. Since Aunt Mei followed Uncle Khan, she often studied Chinese cuisine, fearing that Uncle Khan would not be able to get used to the food of the United States. Mei Gan was extremely envious. Only Uncle Khan could have such charm. Mei, you can never imagine what I have upgraded my armor to. Tony looked at Mei Gan with a smug look and said, what is it, quantum armor? Mei Gan glanced at Tony and said, what, how did you know? Tony looked at Mei Gan with a surprised look and said. Banner and the other two beside him were a little surprised. Although Mei Gan was very powerful in their minds, how could he know what they just studied? What else in the world did he not know? Shit, I thought you picked up money. Isn't it just the research of quantum armor? Mei Gan said, a little bored. If you pick up money, you can also see if you can get some of it under the saying that the listener gets a share. The quantum armor is not a one-time thing. Forget it. Go back to bask in the sun. Mei Gan carried the chicken soup and walked leisurely towards the flower shop. It's not to mention that Aunt Mei's cooking skills are quite good. It's just that she hasn't studied it for a long time, and the taste of this chicken soup is great. Uncle Khan, the old man, is really comfortable. Next time, I have to talk to Aunt Mei. If she studies cooking again, I have to call Audrey over, so that I can have a good meal, and I don't have to cook every time. Mei Gan walked towards the flower shop, thinking happily in my heart. Mei, don't you want to see my magical quantum armor? Tony said loudly and unwillingly. Originally, he thought that his quantum armor had been modified, and he would use it to open the eyes of Mei Gan and others, so that he could also show it off. Who knew that Mei Gan didn't play by the rules? I'm not interested. If I have had time, I might as well go back to bask in the sun, Mei Gan said without even turning his head. Beside, Tony and the other two looked at each other, all a little depressed. After all the efforts of the three of them to research quantum technology, why did Mei Gan not look as excited as picking up money? There was nothing they could do, because Mei Gan was a greedy guy. Although Johnny was a laborer, He was also working hard to move things. Let's go show Steve. Mei, an uneducated guy, probably won't be able to talk to him. Tony said this. Could it be that Steve was educated? The three of them walked into the veteran tavern with their arms around each other. In the flower shop, Mei Gan was lying on a recliner on the second floor. Today Audrey and Natasha took the little guy to see their friends in S.H.I.E.L.D. So Mei Gan was the only one at home today. He could have a good rest at home. In the past, when I was alone, I would think about finding someone to accompany me. Now there are three of us, and sometimes I feel how comfortable I was when I was alone before. Alas. People. They are just cheap. Mei Gan sighed, took out his mobile phone, and played a few games first. Just when Mei Gan was playing games leisurely, in the distant desert, a woman with heavy makeup and a disgusting look walked into an abandoned temple with a group of subordinates. Once they entered the temple, the group of people were looking for something everywhere. Finally, a group of people lifted a stone slab on the ground, and dust was raised, covering everyone's eyes. After a while, when the dust cleared, a deep cave was revealed underground. The group of people showed surprise. The heavily made up woman couldn't wait to walk into the cave. Seeing this, several of them hurriedly followed the woman. Not long after, a terrifying roar came from the cave. But the woman who went in first was crawling out of the cave in fear. After crawling out, the woman screamed and asked her subordinates to block the cave. Her subordinates heard her and hurriedly put down the stone slab, wanting to block the cave again. However, everything was too late. Countless bright red blood suddenly gushed out of the hole where they had just fallen. A terrifying roar came from the hole, looming. A group of people stepped back in fear and swallowed their saliva. They looked at the hole with vigilance. Suddenly, a terrifying monster rushed out of the hole and pounced on everyone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Death is Coming. In the dark space, on the second floor of the neighborhood flower shop, Mei Gan, who was basking in the sun, had no idea what was happening in the desert. Even if he knew, he would not care. Nothing could make him get up from the recliner. Mei, come down quickly. Just when Mei Gan was drowsy, a voice came from downstairs. Mei Gan got up and looked downstairs with some anger. The one who called Mei Gan was Eddie, who had just moved in. Since he moved in, this guy has used his 3-inch tongue to directly break into this big family. In the past 2 days, he has been harassing Mei Gan from time to time. Looking at his appearance, you can tell that he just wants to build a good relationship with Mei Gan, for fear that Mei Gan will burn him to death with a magic. So, since he learned from his colleagues a few days ago that Mei Gan likes to play maging, he has memorized the rules of maging in the past few days and is ready to have a maging game to establish diplomatic relations. Eddie didn't know that Mei Gan likes to play maging when he wins money. If he loses money, he probably won't be very happy. The colleagues Eddie was talking about were Banner, Johnny, and Pietro. That's right, this guy joined Banner's research family because he had no money. There's no way. Poor people have no human rights, although he doesn't want to. Who told him that he can't afford a house? What's the matter? Eddie, why don't you go to work at Tony's place and come to my place? Mei Gan looked at Eddie speechlessly and said, do you want to play magician? We are short of one. Are you coming? Tony has made the quantum armor today and he is showing off his money now. Wow. Where is the time to show off a set of quantum armor? Look at him showing off. Wait for me, I'll be there soon. Mei Gan said disdainfully and then turned and walked downstairs. Playing magician is good to kill time. See how lucky you are today. If you are lucky, come back and draw another wave of prizes. Mei Gan thought so. At night, when Mei Gan was still struggling at the magician table, on a street in New York, a small car turned sideways on the street with its 4 wheels facing the sky. The pedestrians around rushed to the side of the car, as if to rescue the driver. At this moment, an old car stopped not far away. The door opened, and a black man wearing a leather jacket and sunglasses got out of the car. Who else would wear sunglasses at night except Blade, who is so showy? Blade held a shotgun in his hand and walked towards the man who was being escaped from the car with an expressionless face. The man took out a pistol from his arms and stood up slowly. When the people around saw the man taking out the pistol, they took a half step back and then scattered. The man was staggering out. At this moment, bang, Blade pointed a shotgun at the man, and a silver bullet went straight through his chest. Suffering such an attack, the man fell to the ground. Looking at the man who didn't turn into ashes, Blade frowned slightly, walked forward, and looked down at the man. You were hit by a silver bullet. Why didn't you turn into ashes? Why are you so stupid? I'm not a vampire, you idiot. You've been tricked. After the man finished speaking, a smile of success appeared on his face. 2 false teeth were exposed. The man ignored the wound on his body and used his hands to pry the false teeth out of his teeth. On a building not far behind Blade, the arrogant woman was holding a video camera and facing Blade and the other man. On the road, Blade, who was feeling annoyed, was suddenly illuminated by a white light. It was a police helicopter. As a race with a much longer lifespan than humans, the vampire clan certainly has their own high-level forces in the American government. But there is no such American government umbrella behind Blade. Originally, it was like this, but now Blade has S.H.I.E.L.D. watching him from behind. And they already knew what happened to Blade, but because Luden wanted to catch all the vampires in one fell swoop, he didn't clarify for Blade first. Just when Blade returned to his and Whistler's base, one vehicle after another had surrounded them, and not far behind those vehicles, Carlson was watching them from behind with some fully armed S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. "Sir, are we going to take action?" a subordinate asked Carlson in front of him. "Wait a minute. Anyway, if you die, Mei will help you revive. Our director will pay you," Carlson said humorously. His boss teased his boss's boss. He didn't dare to speak easily, otherwise he might wear small shoes until retirement. In addition, his boss's boss was that stingy one-eyed black bald head. While they were talking, the armed men in the vehicles had surrounded Blade's residence. Just when the battle was about to break out, in the night sky, a space crack appeared somewhere. In the dark kingdom of death, Death was peeping again. Ever since he met Mei Gan, Death became a peeping Tom, and from time to time he would tear open a space crack to peek at the earth. But he didn't dare to drive directly around Mei Gan, for fear of being discovered by Mei Gan. No one knew what he was planning. This almost bald old man must be the soul that guy stole from me the first time last time. Hehe. Looking at Carlson, Death laughed eerily. On the other side, Blade had already fought with those guys. Countless gunfire flashed in the dark night, and the sound of bullets and shells resounded throughout the area. Carlson and others were also approaching the battlefield. At this moment, a black energy fell silently from the air and then quickly approached a gunman opposite Carlson. Bang, the bullet that had just been fired seemed to be pulled by something and directly changed its flight trajectory. Carlson, who was approaching with many agents, fell to the ground before he could react. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents behind Carlson hurried forward to check his body. When they turned Carlson over, they saw that there was a bullet hole on his forehead, and blood mixed with some unknown liquid was flowing out. The commander was hit by a stray bullet. "Report to the director quickly," an agent hurriedly shouted to a S.H.I.E.L.D. staff member behind him. After that, he carried Carlson aside, and then everyone quickly found a shelter, quietly waiting for Luden's order. In the black night sky, Death smiled, very satisfied with the masterpiece he had just done. Now I just have to wait for that man to come. Should I change my clothes and put on some light makeup? I don't know whether the Chiangsim I bought online not long ago is better or the Hanfu suit is better. Hey, I don't know what kind of man my old lady likes. The internet also said that men like black silk. I don't know if it's true. It's really hard to choose. Death thought, a little tangled. No need to think. Carlson's death was caused by this old woman Death. Marvel's version of Final Destination. Poor Carlson. He became the bridge for Death to see Prune. Chapter 184. Carlson went to see God. At the Trident headquarters, Nick Fury was listening to Hill's report, with a bit of silence on his calm face. How could his subordinate be so unlucky and die again? Last time, he was killed by Loki, which was understandable. After all, he couldn't beat him. How could he be killed by a single bullet this time? Sir, they are still waiting for instructions over there, Hill asked directly, looking at Nick who was lost in thought. Oh, yes, tell them to protect Carlson's body and send it directly to Mei after the matter is over. Tell him that I will transfer the money directly to the card. Also, rescue the two blades and send them together. Anyway, he is Mei's friend. That guy shouldn't raise the price for the sake of blade. After Nick came to his senses, he said directly to Hill. Got it, sir. Hill walked out the door in a swift and decisive manner. He issued orders as he walked. On the block, Mei Gan didn't know that Death had accidentally killed Carlson. In order to see him, he had just come down from the Magic table. Because he lost a lot tonight, Mei Gan was doubting his life. How could he be so unlucky that he got so many chicken who in one night? This is totally unreasonable. Mei Gan was very depressed. He walked to Steve's tavern next door and drank several glasses of strong liquor. Why was his luck so bad? He could only win one round of magic in an afternoon. Mei Gan doubted whether his luck had been used up when he traveled through time. It was a headache. I lost hundreds of dollars again tonight. That's right, I lost hundreds of dollars. Who told those guys that they didn't have money in their pockets? So of course they played a little less. Banger and the other two still owed Tony a house payment. The women in their family didn't give them much pocket money every month, and they saved more than $100. Three poor guys had no money and dared to ask him to play magic. They really got something for nothing. Mei Gan swore that he would never play cards with those guys again. I was thinking that if I had better luck tonight, I would try to win, but with this situation, forget it. Mei, what's wrong? You look like you lost money again today, Steve said with a bottle of beer, smiling. Mei Gan rolled his eyes speechlessly. He knew you were still asking, but he didn't expect that Steve with thick eyebrows and big eyes would become a bad guy. Steve, are you laughing at me? Mei Gan said, after taking a sip of wine. How could that be? Don't you know me yet? How could I laugh at you? Steve said with a serious face. Forget it, I'm too lazy to pay attention to you. Pour the wine, Mei Gan said, waving his hand and putting the empty glass in front of Steve. Steve was not angry either. He took the glass handed over by Mei Gan and walked to the bar with a smile. The wine was poured in front of Mei Gan, and Steve asked, do you want some peanuts, Mei? I just went to Chinatown some time ago and ordered some snacks. Why ask? Take them out. Steve, do you have spicy strips? Thinking of spicy strips, Mei Gan swallowed his saliva. Not to mention that he hadn't eaten spicy strips for a long time. He missed them. Of course, I bought them online. They just arrived the day before yesterday, and I haven't opened the package yet. Steve replied as he walked towards the warehouse. Soon, Steve took out a bag of snacks from the warehouse, and Mei Gan couldn't wait to open it and search through it. There are quite a lot of styles. Wow. There are even B&B. I like this one. Mei Gan took out a bag of white spicy strips from it and said happily. The two sat at the table, eating a few peanuts and a bite of spicy strips with the wine from time to time. It was quite refreshing. You have to eat more peanuts so as not to talk nonsense later. At this time, Tony, the showy guy, walked into the tavern in his red suit. Hey, man, you guys are drinking here. What are you eating? You look quite hungry. Tony walked up, took the spicy strips from Steve's hand, and looked at them curiously. Tony took a bite of the spicy strips, and then his whole face wrinkled. He quickly picked up a glass of wine on the table, and poured it into his mouth. Very spicy. Tony finished a glass of wine, and stuck out his tongue. Steve and Mei Gan laughed at Tony. Although it's a little spicy, it tastes delicious. Tony ignored Mei Gan, and said after smacking his lips, would you like a pack? Steve took out a pack from the bag, and handed it to Tony. Very good, give me another glass of wine, Captain. Tony took the spicy strips handed by Steve, and said to Steve, wait a minute. Steve smiled and walked to the bar. At this time, Steve's phone rang. Nick, what's the matter? Steve answered the phone, and said to the other side, okay, why don't you just call him? Okay, I'll talk to Mei. Listening to Nick's words, Steve frowned and hung up the phone. Mei Gan heard his name, and looked at Steve, asking with some confusion, what's the matter, and about me? It's Carlson. Carlson went to see God and is being sent here now. So, Mei, Nick asked you to help and save Carlson again. Oh, by the way, he said he would transfer the money to the original card. Steve looked at Mei Gan and said, "What's going on? How did he die again?" Mei Gan widened his eyes and looked at Steve, saying speechlessly, "Is this Carlson so unlucky?" Tony said in surprise, holding the tofu bee he had just torn in his hand. "I'm not sure either." Nick said that he was accidentally hit by a stray bullet when he was on a mission. Steve spread his hands and said, "Okay, anyway, it's just a resurrection spell." Mei Gan ignored it after he finished speaking and concentrated on dealing with the spicy strips in his hand. Seeing Mei Gan's relaxed look, Steve and Tony no longer thought about Carlson's death. After all, this was not the first time, and such things did not surprise them. For a long time, Mei Gan and the other two drank wine happily in the pub. A small truck drove into the block. In the back of the car, Whistler and Carlson were both lying stiffly onto beds. The blood flowing from Carlson's forehead had already coagulated, and Blade was leaning tiredly in the corner of the car, with the glasses still on his face. A long knife was placed next to him. A vampire hunter was beaten into his lair by the FBI personnel hired by the vampires. Blade felt very ashamed. Those vampires really couldn't afford to play with them, and they even asked the national forces to intervene directly. Now Blade is already an internet celebrity. On the internet, his video of killing people on the road has gone viral. An evil murderer was born. A hunter who cleans up monsters for human society every day is regarded as a murderer by humans, while those real murderers are reveling in sucking human blood. It's really ironic. Bang! The trunk door of the car opened, and fresh air rushed into the car from outside, diluting the stuffiness and bloody smell in the car. Blade and two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents carefully put Whistler and Carlson on the ground. Then, Blade walked towards the veteran tavern, and he saw Mei Gan. Chapter 185. I look pretty. In the evening, in the pub, Mei Gan and the other two, who were already full of wine, didn't want to go back for dinner. Mei Gan and Steve's faces didn't change, but Tony was already a little drunk. His red face and big tongue when he spoke made the two of them want to smile disdainfully. "You just boasted so much, but you can only drink so little, and no one drinks more than you, but you still have to show off." Mei Gan looked at him and shook his head. He couldn't stand it anymore, so he quickly threw a purification on Tony. "Don't wait for Tony to vomit here, then only the two of them will suffer." The blue light bloomed on Tony's body, and in the blink of an eye, Tony's red face and blurred eyes immediately recovered. Shaking his head, Tony asked Mei Gan in confusion, "Mei, I was drunk just now, what do you think? You still have to show off. I won't drink so much with you next time." Mei Gan threw a peanut into his mouth and said with some disgust. Tony was speechless. "Mei, where is little Sissy? Why didn't I find her today?" Tony looked at the flower shop across the street and changed the subject. "She went to see her former colleague with her mother and Natasha. She said she won't be back tonight. It's just right that I can relax for a day." Mei Gan finished the cup in his hand and leaned back in the armchair. "I also made a set of quantum armor for little Sissy. I was thinking of bringing it to her," Tony said with some regret. Tap tap tap. Blade, wearing a black leather jacket and sunglasses, walked into the tavern and walked straight towards Mei Gan. "Mei, wow. Isn't this our day walker classmate? How come you have time to come here today?" Mei Gan turned around and saw Blade and joked with a smile on his face. "Mei, I want you to help me save Whistler," Blade said directly to the point. "Whistler?" Mei Gan asked with some confusion. "He's dead, killed by a group of FBI. I heard you could revive him, so I came here," Blade said to Mei Gan with sadness in his eyes. "What's going on?" Steve asked. Seeing Steve's questioning, Blade told the whole story. "So, Carlson was also killed by a stray bullet at your place," Tony said speechlessly while looking at Blade. Blade nodded speechlessly. "Okay, I know, let's go." Mei Gan stood up, patted his butt, and said to Blade, "Thanks, Mei," Blade said gratefully while looking at Mei Gan. Mei Gan smiled indifferently at Blade and walked outside to revive Carlson and the other unlucky guy. When he came outside, there were two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents guarding two beds, and Carlson and the other two were lying on the beds with pale faces. TSK TSK. If you hadn't told me, I really wouldn't have known that Coulson was hit by a stray bullet directly in the middle of his forehead. Could it be that someone in your S.H.I.E.L.D. couldn't bear Coulson and killed him, saying that he was hit by a stray bullet? Tony looked at Coulson lying on the bed and said jokingly, "Mr. Stark, don't make such a joke. The boss is very popular in the bureau. The boss was hit in front of me," one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents said to Tony dissatisfiedly. It seems that Coulson is indeed very popular in S.H.I.E.L.D. Put them together. Mei Gan said directly to the two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents without any nonsense. Hearing this, the two hurriedly put Coulson and Whistler together. Just when Mei Gan was about to revive Coulson and the others, in the Kingdom of Death, Death was waiting anxiously. She was already a little impatient. From time to time, her pale right hand took out a mirror to look at her macup, just like a little girl who was in love for the first time. However, if someone saw Death's current macup, they would definitely turn around and run away. It was really too eye-catching. She was wearing a pink cheongsam and a pair of pink high heels. There was nothing wrong with the outfit, but it showed off her slender figure. It was just the macup on her face and her hair that was a bit unbearable. There were 2 smudges of bright red foundation on her cheeks, and even her lips were bright red. 2 big braids were braided on her shoulders, and on her forehead, there was a black mysterious rune. On the top of her head was a big red flower, which looked like it was picked casually in the park and put on. What's more, this flower was picked from a park by her, but it was not picked casually. She chose it for a long time. If you don't look at her figure in the cheongsam, just look at her face, you will think she is a silly girl from the village in the 1960s and 1970s. Just when Death took out the mirror for who knows how many times. Finally, there was a movement in the Kingdom of Death, and then she realized that 2 souls were being pulled towards the earth. Death quickly adjusted her clothes and macup, and then opened a space hole, looking at the opposite side with a nervous expression. Next to the block turret, Mei Gan held a warhammer in both hands, and looked at Coulson and the other person who were wrapped in golden light. Across the street, a space hole appeared, and Mei Gan and others looked across. Suddenly, several people were stunned, as if they were struck by lightning. Mei Gan's mind was blank. Death, one of the 5 great gods of creation in the Marvel Universe, the god in charge of souls, the super strong man, now wearing a cheongsam, with a big red flower, 2 braids, looking at herself shyly. Who dares to believe this scene? Who can imagine it? Anyway, Mei Gan didn't dare to believe it, didn't dare to think about it. Tony and the others only felt that it was hot, and all turned around, not daring to look at the face of Death, for fear of accidentally vomiting and being hated. After all, he is a god. Old friend, long time no see. Look at me, I look so pretty. After saying that, she blinked at Mei Gan with her dark pupils. Ugh. Mei Gan threw the warhammer in his hand to the side, and then ran to a trash can next to him and vomited. This is not a physical attack, nor a magic attack, it is a mental attack. Even Mei Gan's mental strength can't stand it. Looking at Mei Gan who suddenly ran away, Death's face froze. Then his expression dimmed, and he wiped the space channel in a daze, and disappeared in front of everyone. Hiss, this god is really terrifying. Tony took a breath, and said to everyone. Everyone nodded their heads. They were all a little scared. Hey, Steve, do you think that god has taken a fancy to Mei, and he actually dressed up like this to see Mei? Tony touched Steve with his elbow and said, I think it's pretty close. I never thought a god could have feelings, Steve said with some emotion. Isn't Thor also a god? Didn't he also fall in love with Jane? Tony said to Steve. It seems so. Steve nodded seriously. At this time, Coulson and Whistler sat up at the same time, and then looked around with some confusion. Sir? Am I saved by Mei again? Coulson patted his head and said uncertainly. Yes, sir. The 2 agents helped Coulson down to the ground quickly. Chapter 186 I owe you first. In the Kingdom of Death. Death was sitting on her throne in a daze. The appearance had been removed by Death, and she had returned to her original appearance. Looking ahead with sorrow, Death sighed. Why is it so difficult? Love in the world is really a headache. I'm so beautiful, why did that guy go and vomit? He actually vomited. Death touched her soft long hair, muttering to herself, with a resentful look on her face. Thinking of this, Death quickly took out her mobile phone and then kept clicking on it. Go find the love encyclopedia online. Then she kept searching for something. Not to mention Death, who was looking for the love encyclopedia online. In the block, Mei Gan had recovered and was sitting on the steps in front of the turret with a grim face. Mei, how are you? Are you okay? Steve walked to Mei Gan's side. It was the first time he saw Mei Gan like this, and he couldn't help but ask with some concern. It's okay, it's just that it's a little spicy when I saw it for the first time. I can't think about it, said Mei Gan, shaking his head. TSK Mei, you are actually favored by a god. You are so charming, and you don't look that good. Audrey likes you. Natasha is also interested in you. And now there is another god. Aren't you a little stronger? But now I have some doubts that Coulson's death was caused by her. Just to see you, Tony said as he walked to the side and touched his beard. It's just that his hair is not curly enough and he lacks a pipe. Otherwise he really looks like a great detective. To be honest, Tony is a little jealous. He has never been jealous of others in the past. When it comes to women, it was always others who were jealous of him. Now he is jealous of a man who is not as handsome as him and not as rich as him. No one will believe it if he tells others. Why? Are you jealous of me? Mei Gan glanced at Tony, but he was actually a little proud in his heart. Although he never believed that Death would fall in love with him. As everyone knows, Death is a couple with the purple potato spirit. No, there is also a Deadpool, but there is no Deadpool and mutants in this world. In the end, Death went to instigate Thanos' son. Thanos' family is really pitiful. Death is at most seeing that he is powerful and wants to protect herself. After all, Death is a timid old woman. If the purple potato spirit knew that Death fell in love with Prune, it would probably not care whether he got the 6 gems or not, and would immediately bring a large army to the earth. Come and die. Prune, why do I feel that what Stark said is quite right? Coulson looked at Prune with resentment and cursed Death, the cheating god, in his heart. Why did you find a man to let me experience the feeling of death again? It's too cheating. When everyone heard this, they all looked at Coulson with pity. It's really unlucky. Prune knows so many people, but he didn't choose Coulson. Who told him that he was the first to be resurrected? I just don't know if Death will kill Coulson again when he wants to see Prune next time. Don't think too much, Coulson. How could Death be interested in me? She has a lover. Mei Gan stood up and patted Coulson on the shoulder to comfort him. Having a lover? Everyone pricked up their ears immediately after hearing this. Everyone wanted to hear this kind of gossip between gods. A tyrant in the universe was lured by Death so that he could carry out a massacre and let Death collect souls in the universe. Mei Gan explained to everyone. Fuck. Just for the soul. That woman just now. Tony stared and said in disbelief. It seems that a timid and somewhat neurotic god woman actually instigated others to carry out a massacre in the universe. How can it be unlikely? Indeed, they met Death 3 times. The first time she was scared away by Mei Gan, the second time she said hello to Mei Gan and ran away, and the last time was today. Death just saw that he couldn't beat Mei, so he must be thinking of pleasing him. That's why he did this. Blade, who was very smart, guessed on the side. Yes, that must be the case, Blade. I didn't expect you to be smart one day, Mei Gan said, hugging Blade's shoulders. Mei, don't think I'm a reckless man. Sometimes I also rely on my brain to kill vampires. Blade looked at Mei Gan with some dissatisfaction and said, hey, you're still not happy. I helped you resurrect Whistler. Shouldn't you pay me? I owe you this first, Mei. Blade immediately lowered his head with sunglasses. TSK. Mei Gan glanced at Blade with disdain and then walked towards the flower shop, saying to Coulson as he walked, Coulson, remember to ask Ludan to pay the money. Go back to sleep. Several people looked at each other, then shook their heads and walked towards their homes. Tony, lend us a house to stay for one night. Blade saw Tony was about to leave and hurriedly stopped him and said, look for a house that is unoccupied. You can just move in. There is no locked door. Tony turned around and pointed to the house next to him and said to the two, thanks, man. You're welcome. Blade and his men were going back to rest, and in a building in the Big Apple, the arrogant vampire woman was venting her anger at the ornaments on the table. Damn it, how could there be agents from S.H.I.E.L.D. involved? How could they be interested in that guy Daywalker? Didn't our people already take care of the S.H.I.E.L.D. people? The vampire woman shouted, after throwing the computer monitor to the ground. One of our congressmen has called a senior executive of S.H.I.E.L.D. The news from there said that their immediate superior was directly involved in this matter, so he couldn't do anything. Not far away from the woman, a man who was also a vampire said, "Damn it, are the senior executives of S.H.I.E.L.D. so idle? Why don't they maintain the relationship with those superheroes and stare at Blade? Blade can only kill a few of our colleagues." Next to him, a tall and strong man clenched his fist and said, "Shut up. What is that guy doing?" The woman interrupted the strong man and turned to ask the vampire man not far away. Still eating when the man heard the woman ask about the monster they brought back, his pupils shrank slightly and he shrank his neck in fear. Still eating. The woman frowned, a little unhappy. But it was useless to be unhappy. What they brought back was the ancestor of vampires, and they could only worship him, and they couldn't beat him together. "Take me to see." The woman tidied her clothes and said to the two people beside her. After that, she walked directly outside. In a closed and dark room in the building, more than a dozen human corpses were thrown on the ground randomly, and strands of blood were flowing out of their necks. The whole closed room was filled with blood. "Catcher." The woman in a black low-cut dress walked into the dark room with a panic on her face. Suddenly, the woman's body stiffened. She felt as if something was behind her. She didn't need to think about who it was. Swallowing her saliva, the woman forced a stiff smile, turning around and looking at the ancestor of the vampire behind her. Chapter 187 Continental Hotel. The next evening. "Mei, we are going back first. I'll bring you the money when I make it." In the flower shop, Blade and Whistler are saying goodbye to Mei Gan. Having been tricked by those vampires once, he's ready to take revenge. Now he has to go back and prepare his equipment. "Go ahead. You know my card number anyway," Mei Gan said, while lying on the sofa playing games without looking back. "While Audrey and the little one haven't come back yet, we have to have fun, otherwise we won't have time to play games when they come back." Mei Gan is now developing in the direction of a fat otaku. He doesn't even want to go out. Speaking of which, the Quinjet should be back soon at its speed, so why haven't the three of them arrived yet? By the way, wasn't your residence taken down by the FBI? Where are you going? Mei Gan asked casually. Blade and Whistler looked at each other and then said, "Prepare to go to Whistler's daughter and ask her daughter for money and equipment. After all, you have to find money after you resurrected him." Good guy. Whistler doesn't have a little son, otherwise his daughter will be miserable, but there should be no Voldemort clan in this foreign country. Mei Gan didn't know much either. "It's okay, we'll leave first, Mei." Blade saw Mei Gan continue to play his game, and then turned around and left. Along the way, Blade drove the car borrowed from Tony towards the seaside. When passing a street and waiting for the red light, Blade accidentally glanced at the door of a hotel on the side of the road. A long-haired man was staggering into the hotel with a pistol in his hand. There were still more than a dozen drops of blood on the man's face. Blade frowned slightly, took off his sunglasses, and looked at the man a few times with some uncertainty. "What's wrong?" Behind him, Whistler asked with some confusion. "It's John," Blade murmured. "Who?" Whistler asked in confusion. "John Wick is the uncle of Mei's wife Audrey. He seems to have had an accident," Blade said. Blade had met John before. They had chatted for a few words at Mei Gan's wedding. Blade had a good impression of this long-haired handsome guy who was also taciturn. "Then why are you still sitting here? Hurry up and notify Mei. Let's go down and help." Whistler patted Blade on the shoulder and urged. Blade quickly took out his mobile phone from his pocket and called Mei Gan. Whistler, who was in the passenger seat, had already gotten out of the car, took out Blade's long knife from the back seat, and was about to walk towards the hotel. "Mei, I saw John," Blade said directly, as soon as he answered the phone. "Who?" Mei Gan, who was angry that Blade interrupted her game, was stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously. "John Wick, but he seems to be in trouble," Blade said to Mei Gan opposite. "What happened to him?" Mei Gan finally remembered Audrey's uncle. After all, John has disappeared since he moved in, and he has been running around. A few days ago, Audrey heard that his uncle went back to live in the old house. Audrey was very angry, but she couldn't scold him because he was her elder. She wanted him to come and enjoy his life, but he kept thinking about his house. I don't know, but I saw blood on his body and a pistol. I guess he is chasing someone, Blade said as he and Whistler rushed to the hotel. Okay, follow me, I'll be there soon. Mei Gan hung up the phone after saying that. She wanted to go there immediately, but the little guy had already come back and was running towards Mei Gan. Dad, I'm back. Do you miss me? Little Sissy threw herself into Mei Gan's arms, kissed Mei Gan on the face, and said happily, "Of course I do. I miss you so much." Mei Gan smiled and touched her little head, then walked towards Audrey. "Dear." Audrey walked into the flower shop with her bag in her hand and called to Mei Gan. "John seems to be in trouble. I have to go over to see him." Mei Gan interrupted Audrey and said directly to Audrey, "Uncle, what happened to him?" Audrey asked worriedly. "It's okay. I'll be fine when I go over." Mei Gan smiled and patted Audrey's back, comforting her. "Then go quickly. Also, bring him back. Don't let him go back to his house." Audrey took little Sissy from Mei Gan's arms and said to Mei Gan, "Okay," Mei Gan said, and a light flashed on his body, and then he disappeared from the spot. On the other side, Blade took Whistler and followed John into the hotel. When the two came to a staircase, looking down, I saw John standing in front of a dining table. Next to the table, there was a man with blood on his face. He looked arrogant while eating, and looked at John with disdain. Behind him stood two men. On the side, there was an old man with slightly curly hair standing there. John. Hearing the call, several people in the hotel looked towards the stairs. When they saw the Blade, everyone except John breathed a sigh of relief. It was just a guy with a knife and an old man. There was no threat. The arrogant man who was eating food ignored the two people who were rushing over and continued to look at John and said, "This is the Continental Hotel. Do you dare to kill me, John? Otherwise, you should order a meal. I'll treat you." The old man next to him also approached John, frowned slightly and said, "John, put down the gun. This is the Continental Hotel. You know the rules here. If you kill him, your membership will be cancelled, and you will be hunted down by killers from all Continental hotels." The old man didn't want to persuade him, but now there are two outsiders coming, and he doesn't want to lose the rules of the hotel in front of outsiders. John didn't say anything, but Blade, who came over, pushed the old man aside rudely. Then he looked at the man and said to John, "Do you need help?" John at this time, seeing the old man being pushed away, the staff who were working in the hotel took out their pistols and pointed them at Blade and the other two, looking at them warily. "Hahaha, John, I didn't expect you to have such a stupid friend. Do you dare to kill me now? There are more than a dozen guns pointed at you here." The man sitting opposite relaxed his expression and laughed at John. However, just as he finished speaking, a blue light appeared under Blade's feet, and above his head, a mysterious blue rune appeared, followed by a dazzling white light. Everyone present closed their eyes quickly. Everyone in the hall looked at the sudden change in panic. When everyone opened their eyes, they saw a mysterious man in a hood standing next to John, and in his hand, he was holding a staff that was shining with mysterious light. The man was Mei Gan. "John, I heard from Blade that you were in trouble, and Audrey was very worried about you." Mei Gan ignored everyone present and turned to look at John. "I'm fine. You don't actually have to come." John saw Mei Gan coming, and a warm current flowed through his heart, but he still said stubbornly, "That won't do. You are Audrey's uncle, which means my uncle. How can I not come when I heard that you were in trouble?" Mei Gan pulled down his hat and looked at John and said. Everyone present swallowed their saliva in fear, and the gunmen lowered their arms involuntarily. The man who came was the mysterious Archmage, and he actually called John uncle. They only had one thought in their minds: he's dead. Chapter 188. There's a fight. Who wants to go? Inside the Continental Hotel, the man who was so arrogant just now was so scared that his legs and feet were shaking. Although he was also an upper class person in the Big Apple City and had some power, but how could he compare with this powerful magician? If he wanted to kill him, he could kill him with just a flick of his finger. The man hated John even more. Why didn't you tell me that you had such a powerful backer? Would I dare to disturb you if you told me? John, go back. I promised Audrey that I would definitely take you back, Mei Gan said to John. Okay, wait until I kill this guy. John nodded, pointed the gun at the man, and pulled the trigger directly. Bang! The man fell directly on the back of the chair, and a stream of blood slowly flowed from his forehead. Mei Gan walked up to the old man, helped him straighten his collar, and then said to him, "Old man, John has nothing to do with your hotel in the future, and you don't bother John, understand?" "I know." The old man's face returned to calm, and he nodded and said, "That's good. If I find out that you are contacting John privately, then I can't guarantee that any terrible accidents will happen," Mei Gan said with a look of understanding. Then he turned to look at Blade and said to him, "Thanks, buddy, you should go back quickly. I won't bother you anymore." "You're welcome, Mei, then we'll leave first. Bye, John," Blade said to Mei Gan, and turned to say goodbye to John. John nodded to Blade. Seeing that Blade and the others had gone far away, John nodded to the old man and turned to look at Mei Gan. Mei Gan didn't waste words. He waved the staff in his hand lightly, and a blue light emerged, followed by a flash of white light. In the blink of an eye, the two disappeared from the spot. Seeing Mei Gan and the others leave, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief, and then put away their guns. Block. A white light flashed, and Mei Gan teleported back to the turret with John. Audrey and little Sissy, who had been waiting here for a long time, came over and looked at John with some worry. Seeing that he was fine, they breathed a sigh of relief. "John, don't run around anymore, and don't go back to the house over there. If you have anything, just go back and get it," Audrey said to John. "Okay." John took little Sissy from Audrey and responded with a smile. "Well, just live a good life here. Mei has already warned the hotel, and now he has nothing to do with the hotel. It's good to drink some wine, go fishing, and take little Sissy with him." John touched little Sissy's little head and thought so. "That's good. You go back and wash up first. I've prepared dinner. Come over to eat after you wash up," Audrey said to John. John nodded when he heard it, put little Sissy down in his hand, and then walked towards his home. "Oh my, uncle is so scary." Seeing John leave, little Sissy patted her chest and said with some fear. John was too serious, and the little guy didn't dare to be too presumptuous in front of him, so he had to pretend to be very well behaved. In fact, John was not the kind of old-fashioned person, but he liked the liveliness of the little guy very much. It's just that the little guy didn't know, otherwise he would probably be exposed immediately. The next night, Mei Gan took John to the veteran tavern, while Audrey and little Sissy went to Aunt May. It was said that Aunt May asked Audrey to come over to teach her how to make soup. Aunt May really remembered what Mei Gan told her yesterday morning. No, as soon as Audrey came back, Aunt May called her over. Mei Gan had already imagined that he would have hot drinks and meals to eat when he went home in the future. When he walked into the tavern, he saw Tony, Banner and others. Just after entering the tavern, Mei Gan had just taken a glass of wine from Steve. The mobile phone in his pocket suddenly rang. "Is that Mei?" An old voice came from the other end of the phone. Mei Gan frowned in confusion, took out his phone, and looked at the incoming call information. It was from Blade. "You mean Whistler? It's me. Mei, please, can you save us? Blade is not here. We are just some old and weak here. A powerful enemy is coming. It is estimated that they will find us soon." Whistler finished speaking in one breath. Okay, Mei Gan thought for a moment and agreed. But he is not going alone. He still wants to drink. Hanging up the phone, Mei Gan said loudly to everyone, "Whistler is in danger. There is a fight. Who wants to go? I will give him a status, count me in." I wanted to vent last time, but Johnny ruined it. Steve raised his hand and said, "As a super soldier, he is energetic, and Linda can't satisfy him. He can only find something to vent. Sometimes during the day, he goes to the basement to practice boxing to vent, and now there is a fight. It's not good." "Me, count me in." Peter raised his hand not far away and said in a low voice, "Go away." Kid George stepped forward and patted his hand. "George, let him go. He has to learn to grow up, and I will watch him when the time comes, Tony said on the side. Okay, George thought about it and agreed. Yeah. Peter jumped up excitedly when he saw Tony agreed. If you want to go, Kit, go change your clothes quickly. There is no time. Mei Gan interrupted him and said to him. Peter hurriedly ran outside after hearing the words. You are not going? Vision asked Pietro next to him. Forget it, Steve and Stark are going. I won't join in the fun. Pietro was actually a little tempted to see Peter so active, but when he thought of the game, the temptation went down. Fighting can be more fun than games. He was still thinking about going back to play games after a few glasses of wine. If Wanda hadn't insisted on dragging him here, he wouldn't even want to drink. Wanda glared at her brother with dissatisfaction, feeling a bit disappointed. He only thinks about playing games all day long, and tomorrow she will smash his computer. Soon, Peter came back wearing his Spider-Man suit. Mei Gan saw him and said nothing. He added a few skills to the three of them and teleported them over. He himself did not go over. After all, he was not a powerful person, just a vampire, which Steve and the other two could handle. And there were the states he added to the three of them. If they still can't handle it, they can just find a piece of tofu and kill themselves. On the other side, Whistler hid in a room with 3 men, 2 women and a child. Whistler was the first to discover the vampire. He was drinking on the roof at the time and happened to see a strong man appearing from the gate, and he punched through the gate with one punch. It was an iron gate. Seeing this, Whistler hurriedly called Mei Gan while finding the people who were having fun and took them to hide in this small house. Before leaving, Blade gave Whistler his phone and told him to call Mei Gan if he was in danger. Anyway, there is no need to worry about too much debt. This is a typical case of a big debtor. If Mei Gan didn't know, if Mei Gan knew, you can see whether he would come to help. It's good enough that he didn't get hit by an earthquake. Chapter 189. He escaped. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps sounded from outside the door. Several people in the room quickly covered their mouths, stared at the wooden door with eyes wide open in fear. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. At this moment, the footsteps that were knocking on their hearts suddenly disappeared. The only sound that rang in their ears was the sound of everyone's breathing and the violent beating of their hearts. Roar! A roar suddenly sounded behind everyone, scaring several people so much that they couldn't help but scream. Fortunately, Whistler and 2 of the men reacted quickly, grabbing a blind woman and the child and running towards the door. Several people turned their heads and looked back while running, but they saw a strong man in a chest-bearing outfit standing there, looking at them with a playful look, like a cat playing with a mouse. The man's 2 long and sharp teeth were exposed, shining coldly. Run! Whistler supported Hannibal, who was still injured, and shouted to everyone. Hey, can you run away? The man said jokingly, looking at the backs of the few people. After saying that, he walked slowly towards the backs of the few people. Because they had injured and weak people to take care of, they did not run fast. The vampire man was following behind them and had not been thrown off. After a while, the vampire man was tired of this cat and mouse feeling and was about to get rid of the few people. At this time, a blue magic circle appeared at the soles and top of Whistler's head, followed by a direct burst of white light. The dazzling light made the vampire man close his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, 3 men wearing strange clothes had appeared beside the few people, and on the 3 people, there were several layers of indescribable light shield covering them. As for how they thought they were men, you can tell by looking at their flat chests. The people who came were Steve holding a long sword and a shield, and Tony and Peter wearing mark armor. Seeing the appearance of the 3 people, Whist breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that he and the others were saved. He quickly collapsed on the ground because he was tired. You know, he is a cripple, and he is already very old. It is not easy to run with this vampire for so long. Although the Supermaster May did not come, it would be fine if Captain America and Iron Man came. As for Peter, he was ignored. Hey, man, is that him? Let me try his skills. As soon as the 3 people appeared, Peter's mouth began to talk. After speaking, Peter raised his wrist and a white silk thread shot towards the vampire. Looking at the white silk thread flying towards him, the vampire man frowned slightly and felt that he was going to suffer tonight. He is just a vampire who has lived for hundreds of years longer, but his physical fitness is just a little bit better than that of ordinary people. Of course, he will not admit these. In his heart, humans are just his food. Of course, how much this little bit is depends on the person. The vampire's body quickly rolled to the side and barely avoided the spider silk shot by Peter. He dodged it, almost. Hey, Uncle Vampire, you shouldn't have dodged it, you might feel better this way. And Peter saw the vampire dodged his spider silk and kept talking to the vampire. Beside him, Steve and Tony had stepped back a few steps away from Peter. Tony, little Peter is quite similar to you in the past. I mean that mouth. Steve now felt like he was surrounded by countless flies. It's different, Steve. I wasn't so talkative before. Did this kid start to let himself go because he felt no one knew him because he was wearing a mask? Tony said, looking at Peter's back. It's possible, Steve thought for a moment and replied in a low voice. Shut up. But the vampire man was a little annoyed. This guy had been nagging there all the time. His feeling was right. He was going to have a bad night tonight, and his ears were going to have a bad night. The vampire stood up and yelled, interrupting Peter's words, and then took a posture to attack Peter. Hey, Uncle Vampire, you should know that spiders are beneficial insects. Are you posing like this to attack? Come on. I can't wait. Peter's eyes lit up when he saw this, and he shouted excitedly. Fuck. The vampire cursed, then turned around and ran towards the exit, disappearing at the corner in the blink of an eye. He escaped. Peter stared blankly at the vampire who had disappeared and turned to Steve and Tony. Why don't you chase him? Tony rolled his eyes at Peter, then activated the mark armor and flew directly through the glass window to the outside, ready to intercept the vampire outside. Steve, who was next to him, had already jumped down from the second floor and had already blocked the vampire. As a battle-hardened warrior, Steve ran to the balcony the moment he saw the vampire turn around. In a moment, he stopped the vampire at the door downstairs. What followed was a one-sided beating. The vampire was brutally beaten by Steve, who was in several states. In order to exert his strength, Steve directly abandoned his shield and sword and hit the vampire with his fists mercilessly. Bang bang bang, the sound of fists hitting flesh rang out in this seaside building. This may be the most miserable vampire ancestor in many universes. He was beaten directly with fists by the human he thought was food, and he was hit in the face. This made him very uncomfortable. For a long time, the sound of beating gradually disappeared. Steve twisted his neck, stood up, tore a piece of cloth from his clothes, wiped the blood and saliva on his fist, and felt that this activity was very refreshing, much more refreshing than beating sandbags in the past. But the vampire was no longer human and turned directly into a pig head. The people who had already come down saw their eyebrows twitching. Steve is really violent. Tony sighed in his heart and then walked forward. Just kill it. Steve, this kind of bug that is no longer considered human has no need to exist. Tony said to Steve while looking at the vampire on the ground. I will make him disappear now. Taking back the big knife from the ground, Steve walked towards the vampire. Swish, the huge big knife slashed across the vampire's neck, and immediately a stream of blood dyed the entire ground red. Why didn't it turn into ash? Whistler walked forward with some curiosity and said, maybe this knife is not silver. It seems that this guy's not afraid of silver. Hannibal covered his wound and tried to guess. Just burn it with fire. Tony suggested. Okay, I'll drag him out. You guys bring some gasoline. Okay. After a while, the depressed vampire was burned to ashes by several people directly at the gate. Steve felt that he was still very satisfied with this visit, but Tony didn't care. He was here to watch Peter. However, Peter was not happy. He just said a few words, shot a spider silk, and then just stood there and watched Steve beat people up. It was not easy for him to fight the bad guys with everyone, but it ended in such an anticlimactic way. He felt very unwilling. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190, Death of Ancient One. 10 days later. In the evening. Outside the glass window of the hospital, two illusory figures were standing there. They were none other than the Ancient One and his successor, Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange. Point: only when your strengths complement each other can you defeat Dormammu. I'm not ready yet. Stephen turned to look at the Ancient One and said. The Ancient One looked into the void and said slowly, no one can be ready. We can't control the world. No, someone can be ready. When you encounter Dormammu and can't defeat him, remember to find Mei Gan. Who? The Ancient One's words confused Stephen and asked in confusion. Mei, the people on Earth call him the Ash Mage. He is the last bastion on Earth. Go find him and he will help you get rid of Dormammu. The Ancient One turned to look at Stephen and said, since he can destroy Dormammu, why not just ask him to do it? Stephen didn't quite understand the Ancient One's idea and asked directly. We Kamatage have protected the Earth for so many years. You should experience hardships and grow up. Stephen, he can't always be on Earth. I once tried to find his figure in time, but he didn't participate in many wars on Earth. There are only 1 or 2 timelines where Mei exists. So, Stephen, you must grow up and can't rely on others. Ancient One said with a serious expression. Then why is he called the last bastion of the Earth? Because he is now a real existence on Earth. Then there was a silence, and neither of them spoke again. I'm ready to face death. Then, the voice of Master Ancient One disappeared from Stephen's side. Stephen quickly turned his head to look beside him, but saw that Ancient One, who was just beside him, had disappeared from the spot and disappeared into the earth. Stephen closed his eyes, opened his eyes with some sadness, and looked at the void, and then floated towards his body. Mei Gan, who was having a barbecue and drinking with everyone in the park, suddenly shook his body. Then he turned around and looked at the sky that was already lit up, raised the wine glass in his hand, shook it at the sky, and then whispered, "Goodbye, Master Ancient One." Just now, the soul of Ancient One had left this world, and Mei Gan felt it. The Supreme Master who had been guarding the earth all his life could finally have a good rest. Looking at the sky, Mei Gan seemed to see the bald man in a yellow robe smiling gently at him. Below, Mei Gan also smiled, and then shook the wine glass in his hand at the sky again. "Mei, what are you doing? Come and eat grilled chicken legs." Tony waved to Mei Gan with a chicken leg grilled by Kato in his hand. "I'm here. Why are you rushing me?" Mei Gan responded quickly. "Dad, look, the corn that Uncle Kato grilled for me is so delicious." The little guy came to Mei Gan with a bunch of corn in his hand and said happily, "Did you say thank you to Uncle Kato?" Mei Gan touched the little guy's head and said, "Yes, I'm a polite child." The little guy raised his head and looked at Mei Gan and said, "Good boy, go play with Nora." Yeah. The little guy nodded and ran towards Nora. "Zio-Kan, the Chinatown will be very lively tomorrow during the Lantern Festival. There will be lion and dragon dances. I'm going to take Nora and Ian to see them. Do you want to take Nanzu to join in the fun?" Mei Gan just picked up a skewer of roasted lamb when Uncle Long next to him suddenly said to him, "Okay, I haven't seen lion and dragon dances yet." Mei Gan agreed. "Okay, I'll go there after breakfast tomorrow." Uncle Long patted Mei Gan on the shoulder and left. When Mei Gan was watching a movie, before he traveled through time, when Guyi died, Mordo would summon Dormammu in Hong Kong. Only the temple in Hong Kong had not been attacked by Mordo among the 3 temples. However, when Mei Gan just used his mental power to check the temple in Hong Kong, he found that the temple in Hong Kong had already been attacked, and only the temple in the Big Apple had no signs of being destroyed. Could it be because of the butterfly effect? Forget it. Never mind. Wait for Dormammu to come, and then kill him. After thinking about it, Mei Gan didn't care about this matter anymore, and went directly to find Steve and the others to drink. The next day, the block. Mei Gan was walking towards the gate of the block with little Sissy. Beside him were Uncle Long, Tony, Banner, and Steve. Uncle Long was holding the little Nora in his arms, and holding the little Ian, while Tony, Banner and Steve followed because of curiosity. Behind everyone followed Gwen and Peter. Today is the Lantern Festival. Mei Gan and Uncle Long are taking these little guys to Chinatown to watch the fun. I heard that there are also dragon and lion dance performances. Just when they were leaving, Tony and the others heard it and insisted on joining in the fun. Chick and Red Baby followed and are now staying in Gwen and Anna's arms. When they arrived at the gate, everyone got on the car arranged by Tony. Soon after, everyone arrived at the gate of Chinatown. Chinatown was crowded with people, and yellow-skinned Chinese immigrants could be seen walking on the streets. In the shops on both sides full of Chinese charm, many products that were not available in the beautiful country were displayed. Leading the little guy and others to walk inside, Mei Gan suddenly felt a little dazed, as if he had not yet traveled through time and space to the scene of shopping before. Beside him were yellow people who looked exactly like him, which made Mei Gan feel quite familiar. Dad, where is the lion and dragon dance? Take me to see it. The little guy shouted in Mei Gan's arms. It's just in front, almost there. Uncle Long interrupted and pointed to the front. Oh, then Dad, walk faster. The little guy grabbed Mei Gan's hair and shouted. Okay. Mei Gan hurriedly quickened his pace. The little guy and others were also curiously looking at the pedestrians and products around them. Dad, I just heard two old men communicating in Mandarin that Grandpa Gan taught me. Are they from the same place as Grandpa Gan and Dad? The little guy looked at the two people communicating in Mandarin and asked curiously. Yes. When little Sissy is older, Dad will take little Sissy back to see where she is. Okay. Mei Gan replied with a smile. Mei Gan really wanted to visit the Celestial Empire in this world. When he first crossed over, he didn't know anyone there, so he didn't go back directly. Later, he opened a physical therapy center here with Uncle Gan, so he had even less time to go back. Okay. My Mandarin is pretty good now. The little guy clapped his hands and shouted happily in Chinese. Okay. Mei Gan said with a smile. Uncle Gan took over Mei Gan's duties in terms of language and often taught little Sissy Chinese and some things about the Celestial Empire. Not long after, several people saw a colorful dragon being lifted up to the top of a dozen people's heads in a square in front of them. Walking on the square, the surrounding area was full of onlookers of all races. Chapter 191. It's over. Brother Gan is about to explode. At night. Big Apple City. Not far from the block where Mei Gan and others lived. Kamataj's Big Apple City temple stood there, but no one could see it. And just in front of the temple, a dozen guys who looked like they hadn't slept for more than 10 days were standing at the door of the temple. 3 of them were dressed as Kamataj wizards, with dark circles under their eyes, like office workers who hadn't slept for more than 10 days. Behind them, a circle of fire flickering with flames was spinning. The dozen people were Cassilis and his 2 followers. Standing in front of the dozen followers, Cassilis, eyes without any emotion, stared at the temple, and then Cassilis waved his hand at the temple. Those men of Cassilis immediately swarmed towards the temple. Not long after, bang 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 boom first, countless fighting sounds rang out, and then the sound of explosions came from the temple. Then the dozen followers of Cassilis jumped out of the temple. Then, the temple that had stood on the earth for hundreds of years collapsed with a loud bang, and a cloud of dust spread into the sky. Cassilis showed an ugly smile, and looked at the collapsed temple. At this moment, in the sky behind him, colorful colors appeared, the space was torn apart, and a terrifying atmosphere spread out from that space. Boom boom, the huge thunder came from that space, and resounded throughout the sky. In this area, pedestrians on the road stopped and looked up at the sky. People who didn't know what was going on took out their mobile phones from their pockets to take pictures, completely unaware that death was approaching. On the block, Johnny and Uncle Gan, who didn't go with Mei Gan, walked out of their homes with frowns on their brows, and their faces had become very ugly. Fuck, what is this? Johnny looked at the colorful light that was getting closer and closer, and couldn't help saying. They didn't realize that at the moment the colorful light appeared, Adam and Eve, the 2 shadow wolves, had already run towards the gate and back door of the block. Uncle Gan and other people with power could feel the terrifying breath from the light. This was the strongest and most terrifying breath they had ever felt except for death. Not to mention the shadow wolf, who was stronger than them, was ready to activate the 2 defense towers when he noticed the enemy's appearance. Call Mei quickly. Johnny saw the colorful light that was about to fall and hurriedly said to Audrey beside him. Audrey took out her mobile phone from her pocket and started to call Mei Gan. However, it was too late. The colorful light filled the area. Wherever the light passed, whether it was a building or the ground, it collapsed in an instant, and countless smoke and dust rose into the sky, filled the entire sky. Screams and cries suddenly rang in the area. The residents who had just walked out of the Big Apple City War encountered a more terrifying disaster than the last time. Countless huge wall fragments fell from the sky, and countless pedestrians screamed while dodging those fragments. The unlucky guy who didn't have time to run away would be hit by the fragments in an instant. His head would burst open, and his body would collapse to the ground powerlessly, without any sound, and the indistinguishable liquid would splash in all directions. The residents of the beautiful country who accidentally saw it immediately wailed in fear. There were also residents who did not hide. They were sitting on the ground, mumbling in their mouths, perhaps praying for their so-called god to bless him. On the other side, two colorful lights fell from the sky and were about to land on the block. However, among the three defense towers standing on the block, which had been motionless, except for the turret in the center of the block, the other mysterious towers and arrow towers all moved at this time. In the back street, the arrow tower with the red roof suddenly made a clicking sound. The huge arrow, that flashed with cold light and looked extremely sharp, shrank half of its body into the arrow tower. At the gate, Alexander walked out of the security booth in panic and saw at a glance that the mysterious tower behind the security booth was emitting dazzling light, illuminating the sky. Zizzy, a sound like an electric current came from the mysterious tower. When the colorful light fell, a blue light shot out from the mysterious tower and went towards the colorful light. Boom. The two forces collided, erupting with powerful force, and a shock wave spread out from the center of the explosion and rushed to all directions. However, it was the power of a space after all. Without Mei Gan's control, the two shadow wolves Adam and Eve could not compare with the power of the dark space. The blue power of the mysterious tower dissipated in the sky under the collision of the dark space. However, the colorful light continued to attack the block. Swish, a silver-white arrow shot out from the arrow tower and shot at the colorful light. Bang, the arrow also followed the blue light and shattered in an instant under the colorful light. Ouch, a roar came from the mysterious tower, and then Adam rushed out of the mysterious tower and rushed towards Audrey and the others, while Eve on the other side also ran towards the crowd. Ouch, rushing in front of Audrey and the others, Adam roared at Uncle Kyan and the others, and then followed Eve to block them in front of them, facing the dark space that was rushing down. Adam and Eve opened their huge mouths, revealing their mouths full of sharp giant teeth. The colorful light fell, and the buildings on both sides of the block collapsed in an instant, but only the three defense towers were still standing firmly in place. Kato blinked and watched the flower shop and physical therapy center next to him also collapse under the colorful light. He kept muttering in his mouth, "It's over, Brother Kyan is going to explode." They actually dared to collapse the physical therapy center at this time. Cracks spread towards the ground, where everyone was standing, like giant black pythons attached to the ground, and they were about to appear in front of everyone in a blink of an eye. And just in time, Audrey's phone finally got through. "Mei, come back quickly, something happened here," Audrey called out in a hurry as soon as the phone was connected. In Chinatown, Mei Gan, who was playing with the kids, was a little confused. What else could happen in the block? But when he heard Audrey's urgent voice, Mei Gan hurriedly asked, "What happened in the block?" Tony and Steve heard that something happened in the block and hurriedly walked over, waiting with some worry. "It's ruined. The whole block is ruined." Mei Gan's face was full of disbelief when he heard this. After all, with the three defense towers he arranged, how could anyone destroy the houses in the block? Although the defense tower was not controlled by him, the magic power of Shadow Wolf was not bad. Who else could destroy the house? No, there is Dormammu. Mei Gan immediately thought of the dead ancient one. Dormammu came tonight, and he did not come to Hong Kong, but to the Big Apple, right next to the block where he lived. Gan, Tony, Steve, Banner, let's go. Our homes have been destroyed. Mei Gan said, without even taking out his staff, and directly performed the group teleportation technique with his bare hands. He disappeared into Chinatown with everyone. P.S. Please vote. Chapter 192, Dormammu. In front of the destroyed temple, the fire flickered, and a circle of fire suddenly appeared. Then, Stephen, Mordo with a long sword on his back, and the king walked out of the circle of fire, facing Caecilius from a distance. Stephen and the other two looked at the light in the sky and all showed solemnity. It's the dark space, Dormammu is coming. It's too late. No one can stop him, Mordo said with a frustrated look at the colorful sky. That's not necessarily the case, Stephen responded to Caecilius in front of him. Originally, Stephen could use the time gem to reverse time and restore these destroyed houses to their original state. Then Stephen dragged Dormammu into the loop of time, directly persuaded Dormammu to retreat, and won a great victory. Dormammu also won the title of the most tragic villain. Dormammu didn't even set foot on the earth, and he went back in disgrace. He was also dragged into the loop space by a wizard on earth, and killed him hundreds of times, but it was useless. You can see how tragic it is. However, the time stone is now gathering dust in Mei Gan's space, so Stephen can't persuade Dormammu to leave. So now Stephen can only use the most powerful arcane in the universe. Find a helper. Look at what a beautiful world, beyond time, beyond death. Stephen, don't struggle anymore. Caecilius approached Stephen and the other two, turned his head to look at the dark world behind him, and said to them. After thinking, Stephen's cloak fluttered slightly, and then he passed Caecilius and others, and flew towards the dark world. Mordo and Juan watched Stephen drift away. In their eyes, Stephen was a symbol of betrayal. It seems that his vision was wrong. Mordo looked at Stephen, who was fleeing here, and said with some sadness. He left you, and obeyed the power of Dormammu. He was right. What about you? Caecilius looked at Stephen, who was floating towards the dark world, and said with some gloating. Stephen flew to the block, and looked at the people on the ground, then landed next to the mysterious tower with a calm face. Block. Listening to the call that had been hung up, Audrey felt relieved. In everyone's mind, as long as Mei Gan arrived, all difficulties would be solved by him directly. They believed in Mei Gan so much, and he had been tested by disaster several times. A white light flashed, and the figures of Mei Gan and others appeared beside everyone. Mei Gan looked up at the dark space in the sky, stretched out his right hand, and then his palm forward, and a blue mysterious rune appeared in front of his palm. A stream of magic power gathered, and turned into a rotating blue shield. The shield was several hundred meters high and directly blocked the dark space above the block. Then looking at the collapsed houses on both sides of the block, Mei Gan's heart was full of anger. It was not easy for him. He found dozens of gangs to collect some money to buy this house. Last year, it was destroyed every few days. I thought that, now that I have a reputation on Earth, those snakes, insects, rats and ants would not dare to come here to make trouble. And there are 2 shadow wolves and 3 defense towers, so I can be more assured. And since the Big Apple City incident, not many people dare to come here to make trouble. No one on Earth came to make trouble. Now the enemies outside the Earth come directly to make trouble. Mei Gan was speechless. Is it because of the bad feng shui of his own physiotherapy center? Why are there so many disasters? Can't you fight away from the physiotherapy center? It seems that I have to ask Uncle Kyan to go to Chinatown to find a feng shui master to take a look. Otherwise it won't work if it keeps like this. What is this? Tony looked at the dark space in the sky and asked Mei Gan. Dormammu, the dark overlord of the universe. This is the dark space he dominates. Mei Gan looked at the dark space and explained to Tony. It's the overlord of the universe again. How many overlords are there in this universe? Why are they all interested in the Earth and want to make trouble on the Earth? Has the Earth offended them? Tony said, a little unhappy. We've only just arrived. Earth is just like my physiotherapy center. Every now and then, someone comes to mess things up. Mei Gan pointed to the ruins of his collapsed physiotherapy center and said, it seems that there are many dangers in the universe. Steve was a little worried about the future of Earth. However, after seeing Mei Gan, he felt relieved. After all, with Mei Gan here, no matter who it is, there should be no way to invade Earth. On the side, while looking at the collapsed physiotherapy center, Mei Gan suddenly felt that someone had broken into the block. His mental power swept over there, and the person who came was Dr. Strange, Stephen Strange. Mei Gan recognized him at a glance. That funny cape was easy to recognize. You are the Ash Mage, Mei Gan. Stephen walked not far from the crowd and looked at Mei Gan and asked, I am. Did the Ancient One ask you to come here? Mei Gan looked at Stephen Strange and said, Yes, I think you should be able to take action without me coming here. Stephen looked at the destroyed houses around and said to Mei Gan, I think it's better for you to go check on your two companions. They probably won't be able to hold on for much longer. Mei Gan didn't answer Stephen's words. He looked behind Stephen and then said to Stephen. Mei Gan's eyes penetrated through the heavy barriers and saw that Mordo and Wang were being chased by Caecilius and his men and were fleeing everywhere. They were almost killed by them several times. Fortunately, the two had rich combat experience and could hold on under the siege of more than a dozen people, but they couldn't hold on for much longer. Mr. Magician, I'll leave this to you. Thank you. Stephen was shocked when he heard this. He said to Mei Gan anxiously and flew towards where Caecilius and others were. If I hadn't made a deal with Ancient One and promised him to get rid of Dormammu, if Dormammu hadn't landed directly on his own territory, I wouldn't want to bother with you. Looking at Stephen flying away, Mei Gan thought secretly, it's time to solve the troubles above. They dared to destroy my home. I'll have to chop them a few more times later. Mei Gan's hand flashed with light and a swordmaster's long sword appeared in Mei Gan's hand. Then, Mei Gan's body shone with silver light and the Lich King's armor was put on Mei Gan's body. Frostmourne was not used because Frostmourne was too terrifying. In Mei Gan's view, Frostmourne was just a decoration. He didn't dare to use the sword casually. As long as there was magic infusion, there would be death around Frostmourne. I guess the old woman of death would like it. With all the equipment, Mei Gan's figure disappeared in front of everyone. When he appeared again, he had arrived in the dark space. In the space, there were pieces of meteorites or small lands with glowing light floating, but there were no creatures on the land. It was a ruin. Mei Gan's figure flashed again and came to a huge face. From a distance, it was a huge figure with colorful light. A pair of pupils without any emotion were looking at the human who broke into his territory. Chapter 193 It's you. Bang, the golden whip and a transparent broken blade intersected, making a thunderous sound, and golden light bloomed at the intersection. A golden spark splashed. Caecilius took a half step back, and the transparent broken blade that was originally slashing towards the king's throat was stopped. Caecilius felt a little regretful, and took a few steps back again. The good opportunity to wipe out this stubborn king was gone. Seeing Stephen, who had already left, come back again, Caecilius frowned slightly. It seemed that Steve still did not fall to Dormammu's side. Strange, since you have been there, why do you come back? Why don't you just throw yourself into Dormammu's arms? Caecilius looked at Stephen and said calmly, when did I say I wanted to surrender to Dormammu? Do you think I'm the same as you? He helped the king up from the ground, and after seeing that there was nothing wrong with the king, he looked at Caecilius calmly and replied, if you didn't want to surrender to Lord Dormammu just now, why did you fly over there? Do you want to stop Lord Dormammu from coming? Don't be ridiculous, Stephen. With you, if the Ancient One dies, there will be no one in this world who can deal with Lord Dormammu. Caecilius said arrogantly. Caecilius, it seems that you have been in the dark for too long, and you don't even know that there is a powerful wizard on Earth. Stephen looked at Caecilius with disdain. Are you serious, Stephen? Wang, who was supported by Stephen, asked with some expectation. It has come to this time. If there is really a powerful wizard, then the Earth will be saved. Mordo, who had just left the battlefield, also looked at Stephen curiously. Of course, can I still lie to you at this time? Don't you usually watch the news? Stephen looked at the two of them, as if he was looking at a primitive man. In this era, is there anyone who doesn't watch TV? Why should I watch that thing? Why don't I read more books when I have time? Wang said in a low voice. Impossible. The most powerful person on Earth is Ancient One. How could there be a powerful wizard? Caecilius didn't believe it at all. Look, hasn't that beautiful world you mentioned moved for a long time? Stephen pointed at the dark space in the air and said coldly. Everyone turned their heads and saw that the colorful light had slowly retracted into the dark space and no longer spread towards the Earth. How is this possible? This is impossible. Dormammu has transcended time and death. No one can stop Dormammu. Caecilius' eyes were already filled with surprise and doubt, and his faith had collapsed. I just went there because that wizard lived there and Dormammu just happened to destroy his house, so I felt that he was very angry and he was finished. Steven smiled and looked at Cassilis and said, impossible. Cassilis's calm expression could no longer be maintained and his face was very ugly. Then he pulled with both hands and Cassilis grabbed a short blade in each hand and then approached Steven. Steven's hands were also moving fast. He opened his hands and two circular blades with golden runes appeared in his hands. Ding, the transparent short blade directly chopped on the golden light wheel, making a crisp sound and splashing countless golden sparks. Ding ding ding, the transparent short blade kept colliding with the golden light in Steven's hand, making waves of crisp sounds. The golden light wheel in Steven's right hand blocked in front of him, blocking the short blade that Cassilis was slashing at. The golden light wheel in his left hand suddenly became larger and then slashed towards Cassilis' abdomen. Cassilis quickly fell back and barely avoided Steven's golden light wheel. Cassilis did two backflips and moved away from Steven, then knelt on one knee. The transparent short blade in his right hand had long disappeared and he opened his palm and slapped the ground heavily. The ground was like a collapsed tarot card, sweeping towards Steven. Steven's movements were also fast. The cape behind him swayed gently, and Steven's body floated backwards. Then he pulled his hands in front of his chest, and a golden whip appeared in his hands. Steven held the golden whip, and swung it towards the ground. Bang, the ground that fell towards the dried plums like a tarot card suddenly paused, and then turned around, and swept towards Cassilis. Cassilis' figure was thrown several meters away. After falling to the ground, Cassilis pinched the seal in his hand, and the whole space where the few people were suddenly changed, and the few people appeared in the mirror space. Steven turned his right hand forward and drew a circle of fire in front of him. Passing through the circle of fire, Steven appeared directly behind Cassilis. The golden light in Steven's hand flashed again, and the golden light wheel slashed towards Cassilis. However, Cassilis was well prepared, and a transparent long blade appeared in his hand, blocking the light wheel that Steven drew. Bang bang. Steven and Caecilius were constantly fighting here, and Wang and Mordo were fighting with Caecilius' followers next to them. In the dark space, Mei Gan was facing Dormammu face to face. Human, who are you? Dormammu looked at Mei Gan, whose colored pupils were almost the same size as his, and asked coldly. The lines on Dormammu's face kept turning. Dormammu, the master of the dark space, Mei Gan said coldly, holding the sword master's long sword. Human, are you here to die? Your world now belongs to me, just like other worlds. Dormammu's huge head was constantly shaking, and he said a little closer to Mei Gan. Are you kidding me, Dormammu? I'm not the Ancient One. You destroyed my house, and now, I'll take your life. The long sword in his hand pointed at Dormammu, and murderous intent bloomed in his eyes. Ha ha ha, what a ridiculous joke. Even Ancient One can't do anything to me. How can you? Dormammu opened his huge mouth, as if he had heard a funny joke, and let out a wild laugh that resounded throughout the dark space. You thought it was a joke? Then let me show you if it's a joke. After saying that, Mei Gan stopped talking nonsense. The long knife in his hand suddenly fell diagonally in front of him. In front of him, 100-meter long white sword energy suddenly appeared, and appeared in front of Dormammu in the blink of an eye. Sure, Dormammu's huge head was like tofu, and was directly cut in half by the white sword energy. Raw. Dormammu let out a shrill roar. He couldn't imagine that this human who looked like an ant could actually hurt him, and it looked so easy. How could this be possible? Who are you? You are definitely not a human. Who are you? Looking at Mei Gan in armor, Dormammu roared at Mei Gan. Stop struggling, Dormammu. Accept death. Suddenly, Dormammu seemed to have thought of something, and looked at Pegant with fear in his eyes and said, It's you, the strong man who broke through hell, the guy who killed Mephisto. No. Haven't you left the earth? You are an earthling. The fear in Dormammu's eyes grew deeper, and he looked at Pegant with some disbelief. Chapter 194 Blade Storm. Trident Headquarters. Nick Fury looked at the big screen on his wall calmly, where the battle on the ruins and the dark space in the sky were playing. Sir, this time there may be many casualties in the Big Apple. Looking at the collapsed houses and the wounded who were screaming and wailing on the screen, Hill said with some reluctance in his eyes. This is war, Agent Hill. and this is a reason for Steve and others' existence. Nick's dark face showed no expression, and he stared at the front with his one eye, and said to Hill. Hill actually wanted to say that it seemed that it had nothing to do with Steven and others. These wars were all solved by Mei, but she didn't want to make things difficult for them, so she didn't say anything. Coulson and the military have brought people over. What we have to do now is to rescue the wounded as soon as possible. Nick didn't hear Hill's response, thinking that she also agreed with what he said, and then changed the subject and asked. It's over, and Steve and others are already helping. Hill looked at a corner of the big screen and said, okay, have you found out who those people are? Then Nick pointed at Steven and others and asked. Only one person was found. The one wearing a cape was Stephen Strange. He was once a famous neurosurgeon in the United States. He was unable to perform surgery due to a car accident. I wonder how he learned these skills, but I can't find out. Hill picked up the tablet in his hand and took a look at it, then explained to Nick. Camouflage, Mei once said, looking at Wang and Mordo. Nick instantly thought of what Mei Gan had said to him. However, Mei often said that there was a supreme sorcerer who had been guarding the earth on camouflage. Why didn't I see him appear? Did something unexpected happen? Not to mention Nick, who was thinking. In the dark space, on Dormammu's missing head, a pair of colorful pupils were staring at Mei Gan closely. Dormammu no longer had the domineering and rampantness at the beginning. Now there was only deep fear. At the beginning, when Mephisto died, he went to hell to see it. He was stunned by the power that penetrated hell. At the same time, he suspected that this power was definitely not possessed by the Earthlings, and it must be a cosmic strongman passing through the Earth. After that incident, he also tempted several high-ranking humans on Earth to investigate on Earth, but they found nothing. Except for the appearance of a magician and some strong humans on Earth, there was no news. The magician was definitely not the guy with the long knife in front of him, and he was not strong either. If there was a strong man with such power on Earth, he would have been killed long ago. He is still alive today. You have to know that he has been eyeing the Earth for a long time, hundreds of years. If it weren't for the Ancient One, he would have already incorporated the Earth into his own world. How could he encounter such a strong man now? Dormammu, the Ancient One made a deal with me, and you are part of the deal, so, boom. A loud thunder sounded in this dark space. Purple lightning bloomed in the air, illuminating this dim space as bright as day. Point die. Dormammu. Bladder storm. Mei Gan finished speaking, and raised the long sword in his hand to the side. A fierce gust of wind appeared out of thin air, and blew in this dark space, and Mei Gan's body suddenly spun rapidly. Boom boom, purple lightning appeared from the sky, and then slashed towards Mei Gan. In front of Mei Gan, countless white sword beams scattered. Shua shua shua, the sword beams raged in the dark space, chopping those existing creatures or meteorites into pieces. No, Dormammu's huge mouth suddenly shouted to the sky. In his colorful pupils, there was a flash of panic. Mei Gan's body spun faster and faster, and a tornado appeared around him with him as the center. In the tornado, the silver white sword beams were flashing, dense and endless. Mei Gan's body, which was spinning in place, suddenly approached Dormammu. Then, the sword light that was spinning in the tornado suddenly lit up, and then it slashed towards the dark space in all directions. Swish bang, 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 the sound of meteorites all land breaking rang out in the space. And Dormammu's huge body was like a target, directly chopped into pieces by the endless sword light, and he only had time to say one word before he died. The sword light passed through the void of the dark space. The dark space was like broken glass, breaking into countless pieces, and the entire space was on the verge of collapse. And above the ruins of the temple, with the death of Dormammu, the bodies of Cassilis and others shook violently. Then, their bodies were turning into ashes, and dissipating bit by bit. What's going on? Cassilis looked at his palm, that had turned into ashes, and said with horror. Obviously, Dormammu is dead. Looking at the dark space in the air, that was flashing white light from time to time, and the huge noise that came from time to time, Stephen said to Cassilis. Putting away the golden halo in his hand, Stephen knew that the matter was over, and the dark space in the sky should disappear soon. No, why would such a powerful Dark Overlord be killed? Why is there such a powerful strongman on Earth? If I knew that there is such a powerful strongman on Earth, Why would I throw myself into Dormammu's arms? Wouldn't it be better if I threw myself into the arms of this strongman directly? But it was all too late. This was Cassilis' last thought, and then his body dissipated little by little, turning into dust and disappearing. Bang, bang. At this moment, the colorful dark space made a series of terrifying sounds, and then the space began to shatter like the broken glass. And outside the space, there were sword beams slashing out from the space, then disappeared in the dark sky. Then, a figure emerged, and Mei Gan flew out of the dark space. The armor and long sword on his body had disappeared, and behind Mei Gan, the dark space began to shatter directly, turning into pieces. The fragments glowed, and then floated into the universe. Steven breathed a sigh of relief as he watched the light that had all floated into the universe. It seemed that what the Ancient One said was true. Mei was indeed the last bastion of the earth. Even Dormammu was killed by him. However, after taking a look at the ruins, his brows furrowed deeply, and he didn't know what to do. And here, Mei Gan's figure flashed, and when he appeared again, he had already arrived at the block turret. Looking at the destroyed houses and buildings in this area, he scratched his hair in annoyance. Mei, I need your help. There are too many wounded here. At this time, seeing that Mei Gan had eliminated the invading enemies, Steve ran over and said to Mei Gan anxiously. Mei Gan thought about it and suddenly thought of the time stone. It turned out that this was how Steven restored the battlefield in Hong Kong. Chapter 195 Time Stone. Thinking of the time stone, Mei Gan quickly took out the time stone that was shining with green light from the space. The time stone was still embedded in the eye of Agamotto. Steve asked with some doubts when he saw Mei Gan did not respond. No need to save them. Call Tony and the others back. I will take care of it. Steve nodded quickly after hearing this. Since Mei Gan said he would take care of it, Steve must believe it, and then ran directly to Tony and the others, ready to call Tony and the others back. On the other side, Steven was walking towards Mei Gan with Wang and Mordo. He was going to introduce Mei Gan to Wang and Mordo. When Steven and the other two walked to Mei Gan's side, Tony and the others just came back. Mei Gan put the time stone in his palm, and then the magic power in his body gathered towards the time stone. One by one, mysterious green runes appeared above the time stone, forming a mysterious halo directly in the sky. As the magic power flowed in, the mysterious green rune wheel flew toward the sky above the block, and then it quickly grew larger, directly covering the entire area of the dark space that was destroyed. The time gem in Mei Gan's hand shone, and then the huge wheel of light flashed. The scene that surprised everyone appeared in front of them. Even Nick Fury at the Trident headquarters could not keep his calm face. He looked at the picture on the screen, and opened his mouth. On the ruins covered by runes, the collapsed buildings and houses were all shaking, and then the pieces that had fallen to the ground were quickly reassembled to the place where they fell. The collapsed houses and buildings were also standing in their original places again. It was like a video playing backwards. It was just a moment. The few blocks that were just a ruin have now returned to their previous appearance, with passers-by walking on the street, customers selecting goods in the store, people doing some transactions in the dark alley, and masked men robbing stores with guns. They had no memory of the disaster that had just happened. Time went back to the second before the disaster. Fuck, Mei, that guy can really turn back time. He was just talking last time, Nick cursed, his eyes wide open. This is incredible. You know, time is the most irreversible. A guy who can resurrect anyone, reverse time and still stand strong. Isn't he really a god? Even Nick was a little shaken. Seeing that it was done, Mei Gan waved his hand towards the sky, and the halo composed of green runes dissipated directly in the air. Then, Mei Gan put the time gem in his palm back into the system space. That is the Eye of Agamotto. Wang and Mordo looked at the Eye of Agamotto taken back by Mei Gan, and looked at Mei Gan with a serious expression, and Mordo's eyes flashed with a strange light. Mei, if you have this ability, why didn't you repair your house yourself before, and ask me to call someone to repair it? Tony looked at the neighborhood that had returned to its original state, and said to Mei Gan, why is Tony's focus so strange? Are the things that you who study science focus on different from us? Johnny patted Banner's shoulder and asked. I'm not like that. I guess Tony is an exception. Banner shrugged and said. Mei Gan looked at Tony speechlessly, ignored this guy, and turned to look at Steven and the others. Mr. Magician, this is... You don't have to tell me, I know everything. Wang and Mordo. Mei Gan interrupted Steven and said directly. You know them. Mr. Magician. Steven looked at Mei Gan in surprise. You know me to this extent. There are very few things that can be hidden from me, don't you think? Mordo. Looking at Mordo, Mei Gan showed a weird smile. Looking at Mei Gan's smile, Mordo had a bad feeling in his heart. He didn't know why. He always felt that he seemed to have been seen through. But he didn't seem to be afraid of others knowing. Could it be that he just saw this wizard using the time gem and breaking the laws of nature, and he was unhappy in his heart, and he was noticed by him? Mr. Mage, you are asking me. Mordo pretended to know nothing and asked Mei Gan. You will know what I mean, Mr. Mordo. Mei Gan smiled mysteriously at Mordo. Mordo looked at Mei Gan's mysterious smile and always felt a little creepy, as if something bad would happen to him. Don't think about it, Mordo. These things are not what we can think of, said Wang, who was standing by, patting Mordo on the shoulder. Mordo nodded expressionlessly. Steven looked at the restored house and then thought of the temple over there, which was still in ruins. Then, Steven said to Mei Gan, Mr. Mage, we will go back first. The 3 temples of Kamataj still need to be rebuilt. I will come to bother you when I have time. Mei Gan nodded. Okay. Steven nodded and took Wang and Mordo to the ruins of the temple in the Big Apple. Mei, he is the successor of the Supreme Mage. Steve walked up and asked Mei Gan. Yes, that's him. I just saw you showing a weird smile to Mordo. What does that mean? Tony asked curiously. When did I show a weird smile? That was a friendly smile. Can you speak, Tony? Mei Gan glanced at Tony beside him and said unhappily. Okay, it's a friendly smile. Anyway, I think Mordo might have a problem. Tony spread his hands and said. You are really smart, Tony. Let's go back and have dinner first. We were just strolling in Chinatown. Who knows so many things? Mei Gan patted Tony's shoulder, then hugged Audrey beside him, and took little Sissy to the flower shop. Everyone looked at each other after hearing this, then smiled, turned around and dispersed. Agent Romanoff, who is the enemy? Nick called Natasha and asked Natasha. This is already the norm. Every time there is a battle, Nick Fury will call Natasha to ask about it. Dormammu. Mei said that he is the overlord of the universe, and the one that just landed is the dark space dominated by him. Natasha was not surprised, but just replied lightly. While walking towards the park, she responded to Nick. Natasha wanted to go see her beloved dragonfly. When the incident just happened, the speed was too fast. Just when she wanted to pick up the dragonfly, who knew that the colorful light went straight through the chest of the dragonfly and killed her pet directly. She was not even given a chance to be rescued, but fortunately there was Mei. When passing by the flower shop, she glanced at Mei Gan, who was lying on the sofa in the flower shop playing games, and thought with some relief. I know. On the other side, Nick responded lightly, and then hung up the phone. Chapter 196 Odin's Visit. A month later. Everything was quiet. No one disturbed Mei Gan and his friends for a month. Everyone either went out to play in the sea for a day, went fishing by the small lake in the park, or made an appointment to play Mahjong together. Mahjong is very popular on the whole street now. After all, people in the neighborhood are very leisurely and have a lot of time. Especially Mei Gan, Tony and Steve. Mei Gan, Tony and Steve are not people who lack money. Now Steve receives a large salary from S.H.I.E.L.D. every month, and there is also the business of the tavern. Although his hotel business is for people in the neighborhood and he doesn't make much money, it is enough for him to eat and drink for a month. And other people in the neighborhood have things to do. Vision, Pietro and Wanda often go out to perform missions, and the workers are miserable. Not to mention the other workers. George is the most stable one, leaving early and returning late. The police station doesn't have many cases recently, but there are more meetings. He complained to Mei Gan in the bar more than once at night. Those women often make appointments to go to the gym or go shopping. Peter and the 5 Musketeers had a more exciting life. Peter and Harry often wore their equipment to Hell's Kitchen to fight criminals, and their reputation spread directly in the Big Apple. However, there was one thing that made Mei Gan very dissatisfied. Kingpin was actually released from prison. For this matter, Nick personally went to Mei Gan's house to explain to him for a long time, which gave up Mei Gan's plan to rush into Hell's Kitchen and roast Kingpin. Because without the restraint of Kingpin, the gangs in Hell's Kitchen had several gunfights a day, which directly reduced the already small population of Hell's Kitchen by 1/3. Even the residents in the connecting area of Hell's Kitchen suffered an unprovoked disaster. So Nick had no choice but to release Kingpin back to Hell's Kitchen. In the afternoon, the sun in the sky cast warm sunshine, making people a little drowsy. In the lake of the neighborhood park, Mei Gan was sitting in a small boat with Tony and Steve, and all three of them held a fishing rod in their hands. "Tony, have you been going out with Peter and Harry recently?" Steve asked Tony next to him. "No, I didn't go. I took over the armor on Friday." Tony took a sip of the wine next to him and said to Steve, "The two little guys haven't grown up yet. We need to keep an eye on them, otherwise it will be bad if the last accident happens." Steve nodded and said, "Don't worry, it's okay to revive once after death, as long as the body is still there." Mei Gan interrupted, "I'm afraid the body will be burned." Tony took off the glasses on his face and said to Mei Gan. Mei Gan and Steve stared at Tony's mouth for a while, then shook their heads and looked away again. "What do you two mean?" Tony looked at himself for a moment, then took out a small mirror from his inner pocket and looked at it for a moment before replying. At this time, Mei Gan suddenly stopped the wine glass that was about to be put to his mouth and frowned. "What's wrong, Mei?" Steve, who just turned around to get the wine glass, saw Mei Gan standing there in confusion and asked, "Someone is looking for me. I'll go over there first and come back later," Mei Gan said, and his figure disappeared from the spot. But he had already flashed away. Steve and the other man looked at each other and shrugged at the same time, then began to concentrate on fishing. In Kato's cafe, a one-eyed old man in a suit was sitting at a table by the window with a cup of steaming coffee in front of him. The one-eyed old man just sat there, and passers-by seemed to ignore his existence, and no one looked at him, except Kato. At this moment, Mei Gan's figure suddenly appeared opposite the one-eyed old man. Seeing Mei Gan's appearance, Kato suddenly realized who he thought this old man who was very polite to him was. It turned out to be Kanji's guest. He felt a strong threat from this one-eyed old man. "Kato, give me a cup of coffee." Mei Gan had appeared and shouted to Kato, who was sitting next to Evely. "Okay, brother Kan Mei, aren't you fishing with Steve and the others? How come you have time to come here? Do you want some Linda brand mini cakes?" Linda, who was standing behind the cake cabinet, saw Mei Gan and asked Mei Gan. From her expression, it was clear that, although she was asking Mei Gan, she was actually asking about Steve. The two have been together for so long, and I didn't expect Linda to still be so close to Steve. "He's still there. I'm here to meet him, so let's have some." "Linda, thank you," Mei Gan said, after smiling at Linda. Mei Gan then turned his head and looked at Odin opposite. Yes, Mei Gan just came here after receiving Odin's voice transmission, and he didn't know what the old guy came to see him for. "Mr. Magician, I'm sorry to disturb your leisure time," Odin said after looking at Mei Gan with an apologetic smile. "Tell me, Odin, what is the matter with you coming down to see me?" "Don't say those nonsense," Mei Gan said, after waving his hand slightly. "I think you should have seen that my time is running out," Odin said with some emotion, after taking a sip of coffee on the table. Mei Gan was slightly stunned when he heard this, then he looked at Odin carefully and frowned. "Odin's time is running out. He will die in less than a month. It seems that Ragnarok is coming, but I promised Odin that I would help him solve Ragnarok. Could it be that this old man is afraid that I have forgotten, so he came to remind me? I'm not here to remind you of our previous agreement. I came this time because I want Mr. Magician to take care of Thor's child in the future, because I know Thor." Odin's only one eye looked at Mei Gan with only pleading in his eyes. This old guy is playing the emotional card again. Does he think Mei Gan can't see it? It's just that he is soft-hearted and didn't expose an old man who is about to die. "Okay, I will watch over the two of them. I won't interfere in small matters, but if Asgard encounters a major crisis, I will take action," Mei Gan replied, after thinking for a while. Thank you very much, Mr. Magician, Odin said solemnly. So, you came here just for this matter? Mei Gan took the coffee handed to him by Kato, and then asked Odin. I just came here on the way. I haven't been to Earth for a long time, so I wanted to take a walk. Before I left, I wanted to meet Guyi, but who knew that he left before me? What a pity, Odin said with some regret. This is his own choice, otherwise how could Cassius kill him? Mei Gan pushed the cake brought by Linda in front of Odin, and then said, yes, only he can have such a broad mind, but I'm different. In fact, I don't want to leave yet, but this is not something I can control at all, Odin said after taking a cake from the plate. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 allows Nectarpay. In Kato's cafe, Mei Gan and Odin were sitting face to face. Odin tasted the cake that Linda brought and said with some emotion, the food on your Earth is really unforgettable. Especially the food in the East. I tasted it several times when I went there to play. I still remember the taste now. Then eat more. If you don't go back to Asgard so soon, you can go back with me in the evening. It's just right for you to taste my cooking skills. Mei Gan pushed the cake plate in front of Odin and said with a smile, thank you. But forget it. I have to go back and spend more time with Frigga. I don't have much time to spend with her. Once I leave, she will be alone in Asgard. Thor and Loki, the two children, don't often accompany her. Odin refused. Frigga, who should have died when the Dark Elves invaded, is still alive and well. Mei Gan also indirectly saved her life. Okay. Don't worry. I have already made a deal with you, so I won't break my promise. Mei Gan took a sip of coffee and assured Odin. I believe you. Maybe it's because I'm leaving soon. I always feel that Asgard will encounter a great crisis. The crisis is not from my daughter. Speaking of Hela, can you just seal her and not kill her? Odin said with a red face. After all, he was the one who asked for help, and now he is the one who made the request. I always feel that he is asking for more. But what can I do? After all, she is my daughter. If Hela is really killed, Frigga will probably be very sad. And this is the real purpose of Odin's coming here today. Okay, I will seal her power and keep her with your wife. Thank you very much, Mr. Magician. Odin drank the coffee in front of him in one gulp, then stood up and bowed to Mei Gan and said, you're welcome. Then I'll go back first. Maybe this is the last time we meet. Goodbye, Odin said and turned to the door. Not long after, his back disappeared from Mei Gan's eyes. Mei Gan turned around silently, took the coffee and drank it in one gulp, and then paused. This thick-browed Odin didn't seem to pay. Damn. He didn't pay for the coffee, and he ate the most cakes. This old guy. I have to give it back to Thor next time I see him. He is such a stingy man. Mei Gan cursed Odin in his heart, and then went directly to Evely and said, Evely, put it in the account. Together next month, okay? Evely smiled and waved her hand. Anyway, Mei Gan often comes here to have coffee, and he always keeps the account, and Evely and the others don't actually want to charge Mei Gan, but Mei Gan always wants to pay. He must pay. It's not good to eat for free. It ruins one's character. After saying hello to Evely, Kato and Linda, Mei Gan staggered away. It's better to go back to fishing. Night. Mei Gan and Audrey were lying on the balcony on the second floor, looking at the bright lights downstairs, and the three little guys were riding Adam, Eve and the little chicken, and running wildly on the street. There were bursts of laughter, and Mei Gan couldn't help but smile. Audrey, who was beside Mei Gan, also looked at Sissy and the others playing gently. Mei Gan didn't go across to drink tonight. He hadn't been with Audrey recently, so tonight he took her to lie on the second floor to chat and talk about love. Although Tony kept calling, how could Mei Gan pay attention to him? Here he comes again. Mei, are you really not coming? It feels a little bit lacking without you to drink. Tony called from below. Why don't you just go? You don't have to accompany me, dear, Audrey said sympathetically after hearing Tony's calls from below. If you can't drink on any day, just let him call, and don't pay attention to him, Mei Gan said as he hugged Audrey beside him. Tony was about to speak again, but was dragged back to the tavern by Potts. Mei is going to accompany Audrey. Why are you disturbing her? Pulling Tony's arm and pinching Tony's ear with one hand, Potts glared at him and said, "They are an old couple, they still sleep together every night, and they are still together now. They have a really good relationship." Tony shook his head and said. The women around him looked at him with disdain. Tony, who only knew how to find women with money, was despised by the women. If Potts hadn't taken a fancy to him, maybe he would have had difficulty finding a sincere one. He would probably have to learn from the idle dramas of more than 10 years ago and have a frog turn into a prince. Seeing Tony being despised by the women in the tavern, Mei Gan smiled unconsciously. This guy is just asking for death. He can't even speak. Doesn't he know how to be so feminine? He deserves it. Looking at Audrey, who was curled up in his arms, Mei Gan asked blankly, "Honey, have you gained weight?" Audrey's forehead was already covered with black lines when she heard this. Can she speak? How did she gain weight? Where did she gain weight? I work out every day. How could I be fat? You are fat. It's true. Audrey glared at Mei Gan. How could I be fat? I have magic in my body. Mei Gan patted his six-pack abs and said. Audrey stood up speechlessly and left without saying a word. Hey, honey, where are you going? Aren't you going to watch the moon together? Mei Gan asked with some confusion. Go cut some fruit. Audrey's voice came from inside. Mei Gan nodded after hearing this. Seeing that Audrey was not there, Mei Gan thought about drawing a prize. He didn't spend much money on his hands, so he might as well see if he could draw something good. Let's draw 10 times in a row first. According to the rules, 10 consecutive draws will definitely give out good things. Mei Gan licked his lips and muttered to himself with some expectation. After turning on the system, Mei Gan directly adjusted the number of draws to 10 times and then excitedly clicked the draw button. The words deduction of $1 million flashed across the blue screen. Mei Gan watched it disappear with some heartache. At the same time, a text message about the deduction appeared on his phone. Mei Gan ignored it and stared at the rapidly rotating turntable with expectation. Ding ding. 10 sounds rang out, and the special effect of 50 cents flashed, and 10 gift boxes appeared on the blue screen. Mei Gan looked at them one by one, and clicked on the first prize with some expectation. Damn. It's a potion. The second one. It's still a potion, but it's an invincibility potion, but it's useless to give it to him. He already has the invincibility skill. Next. The third one. A weapon. It's so ugly, the hammer of the faceless beast, not suitable for his own use, but it has a magic shield skill, which seems to be quite suitable for Hulk. It's just that Banner has no money and can't afford it. But Nick can pay for it, and then he can draw again. Mei Gan looked at the hammer and touched his chin and thought to himself. Put the hammer into the space. Mei Gan continued to watch. The fourth one. The fifth one. All the way to the ninth one are books. Books of intelligence. Books of strength. Do you think I haven't eaten enough books? I've already broken through the Marvel ceiling, and I'm still eating books. It would be a bit of a bully to eat more, but I can give it to the little guy. There is only one left, and Mei Gan clicked it with some expectation. The 50-cent special effect appeared again. Mei Gan took a look, and saw that it was still a book. Chapter 198. Are you polite? On the second floor of the flower shop, Mei Gan slapped his head in annoyance. He wasted $1 million just like that. He was really heartbroken. Oh, no, it's not a book for eating. Mei Gan took a closer look and saw a few small words on the book. Master level direct access to the complete magic scroll making system. Because the words were too small, Mei Gan didn't read it carefully at first. Wow. It's a big deal. A complete scroll making system. I don't have to cast spells anymore. I can just carry a backpack full of scrolls and throw them at the enemy's head. Let's learn it first. Mei Gan took out the complete magic scroll system. Who knew that, as soon as the book was taken out, it would dissipate and turn into mysterious runes that rushed into Mei Gan's head. A few seconds later, the runes had already filled Mei Gan's mind. Mei Gan's mental power swept through his mind, and he roughly understood the process of making magic scrolls. Is it that simple? Just draw the runes on the blank scroll. This rune collection is really complete. Mei Gan muttered to himself. But how to make this blank scroll? I guess it should be available if you draw the equipment crafting. Mei Gan thought uncertainly. After drawing the scroll crafting encyclopedia, Mei Gan wanted to try it now, but there were no blank scrolls, so he had to draw again. This system is even more tricky than Leoding and Leomar. It's really expensive. There was no other way. Mei Gan had to draw 10 times in a row again to see if he could draw some blank scrolls. Thinking of this, Mei Gan clicked the draw number to 10 again, and then excitedly clicked the draw. The turntable spun quickly. Ding ding. A crisp sound rang in Mei Gan's mind, and soon after, 10 gift bags appeared in 2 rows on the system interface. Mei Gan continued to open the gift bags in order. A piece of fine gold ore, used to make equipment. It's useless now. Let's take a look at the others, Mei Gan said with some disappointment as he looked at the first gift package he opened. Mei Gan opened the second gift package with expectation. Guardian ring. I just used up all of mine. It's still a bit useful, but it's only 2. It's better to have it than not. Mei Gan put the green guardian ring into the space. He continued to click on the third gift package, and a scroll with a white glow appeared in Mei Gan's eyes. There was a small 10 flashing in the lower right corner of the scroll. Wow. The second one is out. Beautiful, Mei Gan said excitedly. Now you can make scrolls directly, and you can get 10 at a time. But you still have to open all the gift packages first. The 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th ones were either potions or books. The 8th one was a glowing cross. The resurrection cross can allow the wearer to be resurrected in full condition after 10 seconds. It's useless to me, but it's a divine weapon for others. As long as you carry it, it's like having an extra life. The 9th one was a brown stone. On the stone, a mysterious rune was engraved, and the rune was flashing red light. Oh my god, this is a rock mark, which is also a small explosion, Mei Gan said with a little excitement. You know, these summoned pets are permanent and have no time limit. But Mei Gan already has a lot of summoned beasts, so he is just a little excited. In Mei Gan's mind, the rock puppet is a very useful summon. The most important thing is that the rock puppet does not need to eat, which is very suitable for Mei Gan's taste. Not eating means no money. Put the rock puppet into the space first and release it when needed. Mei Gan is excited to open the 10th gift package. After all, the 9th gift package has opened the rock puppet. The special effect of 50 cents flashed, and a scroll with white light appeared again in Mei Gan's sight. Another scroll. Now there are 20, and I will try to carve the scroll later. Mei Gan waved his arms excitedly. Mei, what's wrong with you? At this time, Audrey walked into the balcony with a plate of fruit, looking at Mei Gan who was excited, and asked with some confusion. No, I just figured out a problem about magic. Mei Gan directly used his big move of talking, and lied with his eyes open. Oh, I thought it was something else. Audrey replied with some lack of interest. Audrey was really not interested in magic. It would be better to go to the gym, if she had that time. Come and have some fruit. Putting the fruit plate on the table next to Mei Gan, Audrey said softly. Okay, Mei Gan responded absent-mindedly. After all, he just drew a scroll and wanted to make a scroll. However, in addition to a blank scroll, you also need blood with magic power to carve it. There is no requirement for the carving knife. Just find a blade. With Mei Gan's mental strength, even if he uses a kitchen knife, he can carve the runes on the blank scroll in a standard way. As for the blood with magic power, Mei Gan glanced at the chick running wildly with the 3 little ones, and then looked at the red dragon who was dozing off next to the turret. The chick and the red dragon may have sensed that someone was trying to take advantage of them. One stopped running and looked around cautiously, while the other opened his eyes and looked around before falling asleep again. Well, it looks like the red dragon has eaten too much, so let's use its blood. Although Mei Gan's own blood can also be used, how could Mei Gan bring himself to do it? So he had to let the red dragon suffer. Seeing that it has become so fat, it needs to lose some weight. Let's start with bleeding. Red dragon, are you polite? Mei Gan looked at the 2 beasts touching their chins, then turned his head and stared at the dozing red dragon, nodding his head. Perhaps because he felt that the malicious gaze had moved away from him, the chick patted his head with his wings, and then continued to play wildly with the 3 little ones. Mei Gan picked up a grape from the fruit bowl on the table and threw it into his mouth, then asked Audrey, "Honey, do you want to see me make magic props? I just made some materials a few days ago." "Okay." Although he had no interest in magic, Mei Gan smiled and replied when he saw that Audrey seemed to want to make it. Mei Gan saw that Audrey agreed and quickly stood up and said, "Wait a minute, I'll go find some tools." Then he ran downstairs. Audrey quickly looked downstairs to see what tools Mei Gan was looking for. Not long after, Mei Gan ran out of the flower shop, holding a kitchen knife in his right hand and a large plate in his left hand, walking towards the red dragon. When he walked in front of the red dragon, Mei Gan gestured with the kitchen knife on the red dragon's body, thinking about where to start. Is it the forelimbs? Or the hind limbs or the wings? Perhaps it noticed that someone was in front of it. The red dragon opened its eyes in some confusion and looked up at the person who came. Suddenly, the two bean-sized pupils of the red dragon shrank slightly, and then the body stood up and retreated reflexively, shouting involuntarily, "Master, Master, what are you doing? I don't want to sleep. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight." And then he was about to run away. "Stop, red baby. Look, your master wants some blood. Shouldn't you let me put some in?" Mei Gan showed a ferocious smile and walked towards the red dragon. Chapter 199. Let's try it. Night. Next to the turret in the block, Mei Gan looked at the plate full of bright red blood in his hand. The bright red blood was flickering with a fiery red light. Mei Gan nodded with some satisfaction. The magic power of this blood is still sufficient. Mei Gan walked into the Huardian with the plate in his hand. Behind him was the aggrieved red dragon. The wound on the red dragon's forelimb had recovered, but the originally red and ferocious face had turned a little pale. Anyone who was served a plate of blood would feel uncomfortable, even the red dragon. That was the kind of plate used to wash vegetables, and sometimes used to serve vegetables. The little chicken not far away was looking at Mei Gan's back with horror. The boss was actually bleeding the lizard. Would it be his turn next time? Should he run away from home first? Or should he go to his sister-in-law to cry and complain first? Its little head has already started to think of ways to avoid the nightmare of being bled by its own boss. Mei Gan certainly didn't know what was going on in the little guy's head. He was just thinking about going back to draw a scroll and give it a try. Putting the plate of blood on the table in the living room on the second floor, Mei Gan excitedly took out a blank scroll, carefully placed the scroll on the table, picked up the fruit knife beside him, and was about to start. "Wait, dear, you can't make magic props here. I'm afraid that our house will be destroyed later. I don't want to be like the last time with Red Baby." Thinking of the scene when Mei Gan summoned the red dragon last time, Audrey said with some fear, "This won't explode, don't worry, dear." Mei Gan comforted Audrey. "No, you'd better go downstairs to make it." Audrey couldn't let Mei Gan make it here now, because her man's poisonous milk attribute was famous in the neighborhood. Okay. Mei Gan shrugged indifferently. Seeing Audrey's insistence, Mei Gan had to pick up the basin of blood and go downstairs again, and Audrey followed Mei Gan with a fruit knife in her hand. "Mei, what are you doing?" Banner, who had just come out of the tavern to get some fresh air, walked to the turret and asked Mei Gan with some confusion when he saw Mei Gan holding a large plate, making magic scrolls. "Banner, can you help me carry a table over?" Mei Gan replied. "Of course," Banner said and walked towards the tavern. There were only a lot of tables in the tavern. A moment later, Banner and Johnny came out of the tavern carrying a table, followed by Steve and others. They were all curious and followed to see the excitement. "Thanks, buddy." Mei Gan thanked the two, then put the plate of dragon blood on the ground, and then took out the blank scroll again. Everyone walked up curiously to see how Mei Gan made the scroll. Mei Gan held a fruit knife in his hand and was a little entangled about what scroll to make. "Just holy light." Mei Gan immediately raised his hand and began to carve runes on the scroll. When he thought of this, Mei Gan bent over and used a fruit knife to carve on the white scroll with a focused look. The tip of the knife flashed with cold light and passed through the blank scroll without any pause. After a moment, a beautiful magic rune appeared on the blank scroll. Looking at his masterpiece, Mei Gan nodded with some satisfaction. "Is it done?" Tony, who was biting a cigar, asked in confusion. It doesn't look like it. Why is there any reaction? How is it possible? This is just the first step. There is another important step later. You should get out of the way first. Mei Gan pushed Tony, who was walking forward a few steps away. Mei Gan put down the fruit knife in his hand, and then with his right hand, a silver needle-sized dragon blood floated out of the plate and floated towards the scroll on the table that was already full of runes. When the dragon blood seeped into the runes on the scroll, a faint golden light appeared at the rune. The golden light lit up as the dragon blood flowed. The flow of dragon blood was very slow. After a quarter of an hour, it filled all the runes in front of everyone. Mei Gan waved his right hand lightly, and the excess dragon blood slowly fell into the plate. At this moment, the scroll that had been made suddenly lit up with golden light. Then it floated in the air and slowly closed together. Mei Gan took the scroll that was closed together, and there was some joy in his eyes. This was the first scroll he made. Is it done? Tony came forward again and asked curiously. It's done. Do you want to try it? Mei Gan handed the scroll in his hand to Tony and asked. You have to tell me what scroll this is first. Is it a legendary scroll? It doesn't look like it. Aren't legendary scrolls blue? Tony took the scroll handed by Mei Gan, looked around and asked. No. This is the scroll of holy light. It contains magic that can heal injuries. Mei Gan explained to everyone. Wow. This is a good thing. Tony's eyes lit up, and then he held the scroll tightly in his hand and said, are you going to try it or not? If not, give it back to me. Mei Gan rolled his eyes at Tony, who was holding a treasure. No one is hurt now, so don't try it. Otherwise, let me keep it. Tony said reluctantly. Don't give me that. I just want to try the effect of this scroll. Mei Gan snatched the scroll from Tony's hand, then picked up the fruit knife from the table and quickly cut a hole in Tony's wrist. Mei, what are you doing? Tony cried out in pain. Isn't this a way to try the effect of the scroll? Mei Gan ignored Tony's resentful look and directly tore open the holy light scroll in his hand. Suddenly, a golden light appeared on Tony's wrist. A second later, the wound in Tony's hand disappeared without a trace, leaving only a few streaks of fresh red blood. Fuck. This effect is really great. Tony looked at his wrist with some joy. It was a waste to use the holy light scroll to heal Tony's cut. I should have stabbed Tony directly. Mei Gan thought with some regret. If Tony knew Mei Gan's idea, he would probably put on the quantum armor and fight Mei Gan on the spot. Even if he couldn't beat him, he had to fight. Mei, make more quickly and sell me a few. Also, can you customize it? I think the resurrection spell is very good. Otherwise, customize the magic you used to make me bigger. Or at least make the large scale magic that was brewed in the Big Apple. Tony said with some expectation, while holding Mei Gan's hand. I can carve them all for you. For the resurrection spell, you just need to beware of the old woman of death. As for the gods descending to the earth, Mei Gan paused and then looked at Tony's body with some ill intentions. So the magic of enlargement is called the gods descending to the earth. It's really cool. Hearing that the resurrection spell had to beware of death, Tony had to throw it away with regret. I don't know if you have any clothes that can be enlarged, otherwise you will appear naked and enlarged in front of the whole world. I don't know if you can bear it. Mei Gan smiled well intentionedly. Chapter 200. Do you have money? Tony was stunned when he heard this, and then he scratched his head with some regret. His quantum armor didn't have this function yet. It seemed that he had to make a set of clothes that could be infinitely enlarged first, and then ask Mei for one. Then, that large magic. Tony rubbed his hands and said. He really wanted a magic like this to protect himself. Don't even think about it. I don't feel comfortable letting you carry such a dangerous magic around. At most, I'll give you a locust swarm. What is that? Summoning large locusts? Just like Natasha's big dragonfly? Tony asked with some confusion. Something like this. Do you want it? Mei Gan asked with a smirk. Of course. Tony didn't see the smirk on Mei Gan's face, but just nodded and said. Okay. I'll make it for you when I'm free. Mei Gan said and put the dragon blood on the ground into the space. Mei, you can't just remember Tony. There are also us. You have to give us a self-defense. Banner saw Mei Gan was about to leave and directly put his arm around Mei Gan's shoulders and said. Do you have money? You want one? Mei Gan stared at Banner speechlessly and said, "Ah." Banner froze in place, then said in a low voice with embarrassment, "Can I owe it to you first?" Banner didn't want a self-defense for himself, but for Betty's self-defense. After all, he could summon the Hulk directly, and Betty was just an ordinary person. "Forget it. I'll give each of you a passively triggered magic shield scroll when the time comes. It's a gift to you. If you want more, I'll charge you." Mei Gan finally said generously for a while. "You are so nice, Mei. Thank you so much." Banner heard the words and patted Mei Gan's shoulder happily. "Don't come here. Go back to sleep. The table is left to you." Slapping Banner's hand around him, Mei Gan took Audrey's hand and walked towards the flower shop. A few days later, near the back door of the block, the school that had been under construction was finally built today. Everyone in the block was led by Tony to visit the school today. Because the layout of the school was drawn by Tony, no one had seen it before, so they came here to take a good look today. Even George, a busy man, came together. After all, it is about the future generations, so they must come and see it. Everyone followed Tony, and in front of everyone, Ian was running wildly with little Sissy and Nora. Peter was walking with Gwen and others, whispering something, and pointing at the school's scenery from time to time. This is the laboratory building, and it is filled with the most advanced machines. Tony was introducing the school's plan to everyone. Mei Gan walked at the back, and he felt refreshed when he saw the flowers, plants, and trees planted in the school. Many of them were precious flowers and trees. It seemed that Tony and Norman had really spent a lot of money, plus the experimental equipment in the laboratory building that Tony had just introduced, plus the teaching staff. Tony said that Banner and his wife Betty would also teach here, and Thor's girlfriend Jane was invited. That was really like using an anti-aircraft gun to kill a mosquito. This metaphor seemed a little wrong. "Mei, I heard that Audrey would also come here to be a teacher. Did you know?" At this time, Banner walked to Mei Gan's side and said to him, "Wait, she didn't tell me about it." Mei Gan said with wide eyes, looking at Audrey who was whispering something with Natasha in front of him. "Don't you know? Audrey has a doctorate in physics. Betty told me this." Banner looked at Mei Gan in surprise and then said, "Fuck. I really didn't know about this, and I didn't ask her." Mei Gan suddenly felt quite proud. He married a doctor directly. And a doctor who looks like a flower. This flower is not a flower like a flower. Now it seems that the teaching staff of this school is really good. When will Reed come? Oh, no, Reed has been killed by him. Without Reed, Dr. Pym should be able to do it. Soon, the school will start, and the residents around the block will send their children here to go to school. Tony and Norman's advertisements have been put out. Recently, many parents have come to inquire, those who live near the block or those who are not short of money. Anyway, this school, which has no name yet, has become famous. It is located in the neighborhood where superheroes live, so the most important issue of safety is guaranteed. Mei, what do you think our elementary school should be called? Tony gave the job of introduction to a manager, and then pulled Norman to Mei Gan's side and asked. Mei is the worst at naming. You actually asked Mei to name it. Look at the chick and the red baby. Natasha said in disbelief after accidentally hearing Tony's words. Tony thought about it and felt that it made sense, so he turned around and discussed it with Norman. Mei Gan, who was standing next to him, was immediately unhappy when he heard it and directly refuted Natasha and said, "What's wrong? Is my name not good? Look how vivid it is." Mei Gan then pointed to the fire phoenix and the red dragon following behind little Sissy and said again, "Does the fire phoenix look like a chick, and the red dragon is born as a baby? Who is not born as a baby?" Natasha did not refute Mei Gan when she heard it, but gave Mei Gan a disdainful look and let Mei Gan experience it for himself. Audrey, on the other hand, just covered her mouth and snickered, not intending to help her man at all. Staring at Audrey, Mei Gan ignored Natasha's eyes and prepared to continue to join Tony's naming meeting like a victorious general. He was going to choose this name and see what Natasha would think. "Tony, what do you think of Howard Private School? Just think of it as a memorial to your father. Anyway, you have contributed the most money and effort to this school." Mei Gan just walked forward and heard Norman's suggestion. Then he just left like nothing happened, abandoning the momentum of having to participate just now. There was no way. Norman directly said that it was to commemorate Tony's father. Did he continue to fight for the naming rights? That was so uncivilized. In the end, the name of the school was decided, Hogwarts Private School. Speaking of the name of the school, Steve suggested on the side, the school has a name, but our block has not yet a name. Do we have to give it a name? Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Why didn't Steve consider this question before? Then everyone looked at Mei Gan. Mei Gan was the strongest here, and he had always been protecting everyone, so no one would compete with him for the naming rights. Mei Gan felt a little embarrassed when everyone looked at him. He pretended to be nothing and thought about it before suggesting, let's call it Kalimdor, the land of eternal starlight. Everyone was stunned when they heard this and then thought carefully about the meaning of the name. It felt pretty good, so they nodded one after another. Tony had already started to tell Friday in the headset to ask someone to make a plaque. Kalimdor is the name of the only continent in the world of Azeroth, named by the Titans. This is also Mei Gan's way of thanking the system for giving him the magic of Azeroth, as a way of thanking it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.